it's hard to say Spirit are in the best form, isn't it? Because they did disappoint in their matchup. They felt like they got blown out.
I mean, they got blown out by
Mirage back, but
by MOUZ in Betpundacha, and they're like, "Oh, this is our first tournament coming back." Blah blah. Okay, we'll give you a pass there. And then they came to Dallas, great group stage, destroyed FaZe, but then got this kind of destroyed by Vitality, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely a kind of question mark about their form. And
are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
Thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at HLTV.org/shop.
The rumors are true. We're back with another episode of HLTV Confirmed, brought to you in conjunction with 1xBet. Remember to gamble responsibly and trade.gg. If you're in the marketplace for any skins and all those other gizmos that those cool kids are playing with, the Gen Zs, they're loving it. Head over to trade.gg. Check it out. We're back with another episode of HLTV Confirmed. We got Striker, we got Prof, we got Cats, and we got Counter-Strike this evening. And Lucas is also putting out fires. So we're going to see what's happening today. Gentlemen, there hasn't been a whole lot of talk, right? We were speaking in the last episode that YaLLa Compass is just around the corner. That event come to its conclusion. People are getting upset about definitions of events. And so how would you define YaLLa Compass, Striker?
Well, we have a very clear definition that it's not a big event. So that's where the discussion ends to me. What's this S tier thing? I've never heard that before.
Wow, we're going to start a feud, Prof, between HLTV and Liquipedia. Could we settle this with like an arm wrestling match, or should it be like a fight to the death? You guys have to nominate someone.
The boxing would be the thing.
Celebrity boxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like a three rounder. You know, a card with 3 fights. I think that'd be the way to.
Who would they even be able to put up over there at Liquipedia?
Problem is, like, half of them also work for us.
Right,
Oh dear.
A lot of the same people in our chat as well. So
we're gonna have some problems there. No, but look, as far as
the chat is reacting to your appearance once again.
I thought they were reacting to me like wobbling back and forth. I've got my mechanical massager with me because my shoulder blade's a bit sore today. So
that looks very dystopian, I have to say.
Oh, it's kind of good, but yeah,
good.
I said I was going to do a factory reset this summer, so I've done a factory reset. I shaved my face and I didn't completely shave my face, and I shaved my head. But I didn't want to have the problem that came before when I had to get my hair transplanted. And I was super down and emo for the better part of like 2 years because I was like, fuck, I hate this. So I was like, if I shave my head. I know that seems crazy, counterintuitive. Why would he get a hair transplant if he's going to shave his head again? But I did it so that I remember that it doesn't really matter what my fucking top of my head looks like. It's all good. Because, still look the same. So it's all part of the
You
mental.
absolutely do not look the same.
Yeah, I was telling you guys this before when I was at the gym this morning. The bloke that normally I see, he couldn't even recognize me. He had to pull up the photo, and everything like that. So, it's for the mental. I don't know if it's made the mental any better or worse, but that's why I did it. So, it'll grow back. So it's all good. It's not a problem. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Everyone happy? Everyone in chat satiated with that answer?
We want updates on the mental state.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Let's get into the show. Lucas, are you ready to run the bumper? Let's go. All right, we're back in business, and we're going to get into the news now. There's been some more Into the Breach signings. Just the other day, smooya was announced as the first piece. They're obviously trying to rebuild the team. I was under the impression they wanted to go more nationality-based. They announced sinnopsyy today, obviously of Guild / Bad News Eagles fame, as the in-game leader. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more players from Bad News Eagles / Guild get signed to that team, like Rigon and Johan Flatro would be the two that I would probably be looking to get as riflers in that roster. But I don't know. Do you know anything, Striker? Have you heard anything on the grapevine? What's going on? And why are they doing it player at a time? Why can't they just announce the whole team?
Yeah, that's always annoying, right? But more clicks, that's probably why. Anyway, I mean, it seems like it would be more. I don't actually know the full lineup. I just know that they had multiple things in mind. Like one of them, I think, which I didn't understand, is like, why is everybody so obsessed with Danish rosters? Like I heard that there was like a possibility of them getting a Danish roster, so that would have been a bit weird. I'm kind of better. I'm more glad that they're going this way. At least there's one Brit in there.
Sure.
I think there's a little bit more legacy at least.
Yeah. Well, I don't really. When smooya tweeted out the other day, he tweeted out a bunch of British flags and a Polish flag, didn't he? But I guess he was just trolling.
Yeah, I guess he was trolling. He did tweet this like in the last week sometime.
Which is great. I don't know why he's gone for that, but yeah, sure he has. I don't know what to expect with this team. It's interesting to see smooya back on a roster and one that's being built from scratch. I guess that was the way he thought would be best to get back underway. And Into the Breach, giving him an opportunity to play within this team. Do you think we get Thomas back in there, Prof?
Oh,
I guess we don't need him now. We've got sinnopsyy there.
I mean, sinnopsyy is IGLing, right? I think it's just a combination of the ex Eagles guys and smooya. That's going to be a firecracker of a team. Like,
so we'd be missing Skinionaire and GXX, right?
Yeah, that's most likely. Yeah, I mean, those were the weakest individual performers, right, from the lineup. Yep. GXX, to some degree, he was sometimes pretty good, but he was also the opper. So obviously, smooya would take that spot, right? So I don't know. In my opinion, seems like a fun lineup. Seems like an interesting team. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to get to lands. They need to, grind online qualifiers are kind of coming out of nowhere and everything like that. But I feel like on land, they would be a fun team to watch. So hopefully you get to see some of it in action.
People are saying Thomas is on 5W. Who the fuck is 5W? Red Star,
literally
Han,
read that.
Joel, Prime Taps, and Thomas. What the fuck is that?
I literally read that as Thomas is the fifth, but I'm
fifth wheel.
Like he's the fifth player on the team, but like that was definitely not what was said at all.
This team came together like a month ago. I want to say something like that. It's been going on for a while.
I wanted to ask a question about Rigon, right? He's Swiss, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Here we go.
Could he not play for Big?
I don't know if he speaks. I mean, in Switzerland, they have multiple.
Well, Maniac speaks all the languages, mate. He speaks the German and the French.
Does he?
But they have Italian as well.
Yeah.
Speak German.
Yeah, he stood in for German teams before. Like he played at like the national champs and he's won one, Maniac, like years ago. Okay. 5 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know if he speaks what language.
I mean,
Rigon
doesn't sound like he speaks French, but maybe it's just not his first. It wasn't his first language, and I don't know how exactly it works in Switzerland. I would imagine him more speaking German, so maybe you're right there.
I mean, that's just stereotyping like all Balkan people going to Germany to work,
But he is like part Albanian, isn't he?
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's why he was part of Guild Eagles, right?
Yeah.
He's only 24 as well, so he's still a young enough man. Yeah, I don't know. I would assume that him and Flatro, or at least Flatro, goes with sinnopsyy. I think Flatro is a pretty punchy rifler as well. So we'll have to wait and see what more comes out of the Into the Breach camp. But I don't think there's too much more to say about that for now. Jumping into some more recent news, MBK and Nivera are back with, what is it, Revenant?
Yep.
What does Revenant mean? Should I look it up?
Isn't that like
It's some sort of a creature or something? I don't know.
What the
There
guy?
is the
That's a
movie.
reverend.
Yeah.
Revenant.
Someone who has, yeah, I think you're right, Lucas. Someone who's returned, especially someone who's returning to life after being dead.
That's
Oh,
Nivera.
Yeah, well, he did go to Valorant, right? So that makes sense.
MBK too, man. That's crazy.
Lonks as well. He's part of that roster. Adex. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying that right. And also a kid from Romania. Who was the fifth?
Reiko.
Okay, and he's a Polish lad. That name I'd seen before, but I don't really remember where.
I feel like on a bunch of these, like third, fourth best Polish teams over the years.
He was like on Animo. He was also on one of these academy rosters that I forgot which one. Oh, he was in Sprout at the end, I think. He was playing with Taz for a while in Neo, I think, in the Honors roster.
Yeah, that's where I remember him from the most. But it's not a bad lineup.
I think Longs can be a good rifler. Obviously, he's still quite young and whatnot. But
I feel like a lot of it, obviously, like it depends on where we kind of wanna. Where do we expect them to be and what the expectations they have from themselves? Obviously, I think the names have pretty decent potential, right? NBK, I presume IGLing as he's been kind of leaning into for the last couple of years. Nivera is a very exciting name. I don't know how much we can expect from him in CS or anything right now, but overall seems like a pretty decent mix of players, right? So that there's something to it, and they instantly got invited to, because the org is from India, right? And they got invited to the Sky Esports Masters. Obviously, some of their events didn't really happen as they wanted to, but let's say it's like
a quiz. Yep.
It's a good starting point for this team, a good chance to prove themselves.
I think any rosters that are coming together now have a decent runway into the next major, even though there's no open qualifiers, right? They just need to have some success in some of these open qualifiers for other events to try and get themselves some ranking points. So if you're starting now, that feels integral, right? If you're from Europe and you're not starting now, you're going to have a fucking tough time. Because
I mean, it's probably going to be tough anyway, just because like if you have a completely new team that has no previous core, or you have to start from zero completely, then I mean, you just have to boom straight out of the gate, because otherwise you don't get into a big event, you get no points. Even if you get into some of these CCTs, like unless you do really well from the start, you're not going to get the ranking, and you need to get into one of those close qualifiers. So that's that part. Yeah, I'm curious about if that's going to be possible for this team, because it's going to be hard for anybody new. But what you were talking about with, like, I mean, in the same lines with Into the Breach, I mean, if they keep a trio from Guild Eagles, then, you know, at least they have a starting point. That's not the complete restart.
Maniac was just in chat, and he says, for record, Regan definitely speaks German, and I've been losing my mind for years that Big didn't pick him up.
Okay.
So that's just confirmation on the Regan Germany speaking angle.
Well, I think we're going to talk a bit more about Big later, right? So we should be able to, well, we can maybe segue that into the convo. Look, that's the thing. He is probably going to this roster, but I really am basing that off nothing. So I don't know. If I was Into the Breach, I'd probably take a punt on the solid members of this team, try and bring in a good AWPer, try and bring in another plucky rifler and see where you go. That's what I'd be doing, but who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. I did hear that's like a core of the BNE guys were sticking together. Just a couple of them were separating, but that's also a while ago, so I'm not 100% sure that that's actually what's happening under the Breach. It's just my assumption, just because it would make sense. Like, you don't, as I said, you don't want to start from complete scratch.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Revenant, we'll keep our eyes on these lads, see what they get up to. You know, I think the Nivera angle that you mentioned is probably the most exciting part of this, but I don't want to say this is underwhelming. It's just
a little bit overhyped, just because of, like, people know him from Valorant, and I mean, okay, that means something, I suppose, over there. But in CS, it's not like he was bad, but we only saw him play on like 3 maps. He never really made it into the main roster in Vitality, so we didn't get to see much. Most of it was on the online era as well, just because once we got it to LAN, there was no way you could have played in a 6-man roster a lot of the time, because of Valve rules and stuff like that. Nobody wanted to stick with it. So I'm just like, of course, it's a name that we had on our minds when he was part of Vitality, but I mean, since then it's been almost 3 years that we haven't seen him in CS. So it's probably going to be a slow burn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. This one here, it's like not blowing me out of the water, but it's interesting to see this mix of players together. And MBK and Longs were together on Falcons as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a little crossover there. All right. Keep it moving. This is going to make Prof really excited because I know he's a massive fan of the OG organization. Fiku getting an extension over there, Prof. I bet when you saw it,
tell me when you saw it. When you saw this, were you not surprised?
Surprised in what regard?
Like, I was surprised that they're like extending with anyone.
Mate, nothing that OG does surprises me.
Like, I just didn't think I didn't think this team was going anywhere. I thought this was like they're just gonna wither away.
What do you mean? Aren't they selling HeavyGod for like $500,000 or something? That's what people are saying on the interwebs.
So
just be a farm
they're using
team,
that
bro.
to extend Fiku.
Well, if you keep Fiku there and he's going to stay at the same level and never get better, then what you can do is you can always bring in better players around him to make them look good and then sell them.
I mean, that's
a business idea.
Sounds
strategy.
Sounds pretty good, actually. Yeah. Because just don't hate him. Seems like a nice guy.
The kid. Yeah.
Seems like a nice guy. Plays Counter-Strike. Nothing like doesn't really blow you out of the blow your mind, but doesn't really suck too much either. He's okay. He's an okay guy. I'm just surprised that this team is still around.
Still exists.
Well, I want to know why they're still investing in CS.
Honestly, this HeavyGod signing that they got is it's crazy. Like, he was pretty. Like, everyone was talking about him before OG. So just the fact that they managed to get him at this time and then just, I don't want to say keep him hostage, but like it was like a short-term investment, like a punt on a stock or something. It's like, we're just waiting until someone is going to pay enough, because obviously we're not going to accomplish anything with him on the roster. He's going to play good, but we're still going to not do anything. And then it's just like waiting until the good enough offer comes in. And that's
but we get to see them play blast groups again, Prof.
That's great. Only for only one more time. One more time.
One more season. Come on, we're
and
almost there.
And then a showdown as well. It's crazy, actually, completely unrelated, but like all of these qualifiers are happening right now for like showdown already for Pro
which
League.
Is like 4 months away.
It's like 3-4 months away from now. It's like, what the hell is going on? Okay, kind of doesn't make any sense, but okay, I guess whatever.
This is a little bit off topic, but I am also surprised about HeavyGod being there, especially after learning after the fact that he does speak Russian. So like, you have so many opportunities to go anywhere else that actually has a future. Like, we've seen the trajectory from OG for a while, and it's not like I have anything against any of those pieces like individually. It's just altogether, it's not very exciting. They haven't done anything for, I don't even know how long at this point.
They've been bad since inception.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think at the beginning when they had like the OG like NBK, Alexis team, Mantu was there. Who was the last one? I'm missing one. Valde, there you go.
Flamesy?
No, Valde was there at the beginning. Then Flamesy was a bit later.
I thought we were talking about good players.
But when Flamesy and Dexter was there was also like at least those two pieces. There was something exciting there. They had like a couple of good runs with Nexa. Like, there was something.
They were
there,
a top 15, top 20 team for a while, for 2-3 years, I would say. But
now they're like bottom of the barrel of all the teams that decided to go international just because they haven't invested in any real talent. It's all like kind of.
What do people think what I just said was a dig at Valde? I was just mentioning a play. I was just saying like Striker was listing good players who had been in the team. I didn't realize we were doing the ones at inception. I thought we were just listing the good players that had been in the roster.
Yeah, but the way you said it. So you think Valde is a good player?
Not anymore. I think he was.
He's still on TSM, right? That's also.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
We haven't seen anything from him in quite a while.
Yeah.
Who's on the TSM roster now? Did they go?
Zyphon, your mate, you're one of your favorite players.
Zyphon's cool.
Of all time.
Yeah, well, they don't have a roster at the moment. Weren't they meant to be signing a full Danish roster?
That seems to be what was happening. Yeah, nothing's happened
stalled
with that
out,
so
or
far.
What's going on?
I think so.
Okay, well, I could pin the tail on the roster right now. Who knows what's going on? Okay,
that's why I was saying, like, I'm not sure why everybody's obsessed with building Danish rosters, because I heard the same thing about like one more org that I don't even remember now, that like 5 different orgs were looking into building Danish teams. I'm like, that's so 2020. you know?
Yeah.
Just
Well,
talking about HeavyGod, so this Cloud9 thing, this is like percentage confirmed. What would you say, Striker?
What? Sorry, one more time.
How much? How confirmed?
how
is this?
likely is him
You
to
mean
Cloud9?
have you got to Cloud9?
Yeah.
Considering every one of the leakers, like Russian leakers, have said it, that's usually a pretty good indication that it's true. I don't actually know that 100% for myself, though. I just know, like, from what I knew before, HeavyGod was one of the people that the NIP were looking into, and it was looking. I mean, that was rumored for a really long time
Yeah.
at some point, but I think he was just too expensive for an IP to get for what he was going to bring, like over Isaac, who I think probably was either for free or something close to that. So that was the only thing that I heard about HeavyGod. I haven't actually heard since then any updates on if he was going anywhere.
I saw people asking questions today. There was people wanting to know, how come we haven't done anything from Liquid yet? The event's been over for a while, like Dallas, obviously. And I think a lot of people need to keep in mind that with these roster changes, a lot of the teams would wait until the break has started, because at that point, everybody's seasons are over. And then there's probably conversations going on right now. And there's probably teams and players who are deep within those conversations who have maybe even signed in some instances. But we won't know about that until towards the tail end of the player break, because they want to get their, news out there when it's going to actually get them some clicks. So
I mean, it's also stuff like the invites, right? So I think now the Cologne invites are out.
Yes,
because like the cutoff for the invites and the points.
We
and
can
everything
take a look at that. Lucas, can you whack this link up?
Yeah, so essentially, like, if you make a roster change or announce, for example, the benching of KDN, you could lose a percentage of the points that could send you down the ranking. I think Liquid even had this happen to them like last season when they made all of their changes and like left only 2 players on the roster that they didn't get an invite then. So which kind of put them off on a kind of difficult cycle that they had this year in terms of like having to play all of the qualifiers. Obviously, the team didn't really gel together either, so that didn't help. But it would have been easier if they had to play like 2-3 online qualifiers less than they did. But yeah, as you see, Liquid got an invite for the play-in, or now it's called Stage 1, Stage 2 as the official ESL.
Is it? I missed that.
If you go on the tweet, it says like Stage 1 and Stage 2. So I don't know if there's
because they want to make it look less like a qualifier than it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, it's not going to change anything in the way you guys do the presenting of the event, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Right? Like, you still
I don't know if
have
we're going to
broken up.
rename it just because they renamed it.
I think it means
usually
like
we
the
just
stats parts, but that's
No,
like
no,
a
no, no.
completely different.
Yeah, that's a different
Conversation,
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just taking a look at this list. Let me read it out for everybody playing at home. We can use the vernacular of either if you'd like. So the Stage 1 teams, or previously the play-in teams, would be Heroic Falcons, 9Z, FlyQuest, Imperial, Big Pain, Saw, Eternal Fire, Complexity, the Mongolz, Liquid, FURIA, BetBoom, MIBR, and a team from the German qualifier. Who's the best German team other than Big right now? Because it used to be Sprout for a very long time, but then they went all Danish, right? And that's felt the case for is it Attacks?
I mean, that's in my head, but I don't even know if they have a German team anymore. Let's
German doesn't even show up in the rankings anymore because they don't have enough teams there.
No, it's got to be Attacks, surely.
Attacks, where is Attacks? Let's see.
Big has an
Could be
academy
Attacks.
roster, right?
They are number 80 on the. I don't even know who else now has a German team that is notable, that has been playing like at a decent level in these tier 2, 3 tournaments.
People saying M80, they're not far away, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, just make one more change, play this open qualifier, you can make it into Cologne.
Actually true.
Play with a stand-in.
Actually real true. They could do that.
Didn't someone say like Floppy has German citizenship or something like this?
Somebody said that, yeah.
Did somebody say that? Imagine the
know if
crossover. Well, they can't do that because Floppy's playing for fucking Complexity. Come on now, guys. Let's not get
Well,
too
will he
crazy.
be playing for Complexity?
After the break? Oh, good question.
Who
Oh,
knows?
okay. Oh, shit. Look at this. We're really opening a few doors right now.
Did you
No,
see the production quality there from Lucas with the alternate attacks logo popping up on the thing?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was insane. Look
Ah.
at it. Look at it. Wait.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow. Look at that.
Whoa.
Look at this. He's on point today. Anyway, so those are the teams for the play-ins or the Stage 1. And the Stage 2 or the main event is Spirit, FaZe, Vitality, Astralis, MOUZ, G2, NAVI, VP. and Cologne's in just under 2 months from now, right? I think it's, yeah, once we get back from the break, you've got the Esports World Cup, you've got the Blast 4 groups, and then it's into Cologne. So that's going to happen pretty quickly after we get out of the tournament break. Anybody that we're missing? Anything that you feel doesn't really make any sense, gentlemen? I think having another German team via a qualifier makes sense. It is a German event, but the fact it's going to be a tax, that kind of, well, it might not even be a tax, but you look at that and you go, okay.
But do you not remember the time that Big got a local hero invite and they went to the final of Cologne?
But Big already there, all right? So what you telling me attax are going to win the qualifier and then go to the grand final?
At the time, big people are also hating.
Smooya, mate.
No? That's a long time
I
ago.
mean, you said, you guys all said that Stewie is not going to do anything with G2. And,
we're getting to that later, all right? We can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about Taz. That's going to be my favorite part of the evening. You guys are haters.
We're going to be labeled haters for the second time, man.
I mean,
I didn't read the comments of the YouTube video. I've stopped now because it's giving me like aneurysms. Right. But how were the comments? No, I didn't.
There was one comment that said, you should not read the comments.
Yeah, nice.
And you should just say what you want to say. That was a comment.
Yeah, that was directed to you. That was directed to you.
Directly to me. Nice.
There's a comment for me that I was extremely quiet after m0NESY's performance compared to Donk, which is just factually incorrect because it was just the three of us. So we were talking. I was talking quite a bit. I would say at least 30% of the time I was talking. So I don't know if that could be qualified as being quiet.
But you guys are haters.
I understand why parts of the conversation made it seem like that, but we also gave plenty of credit to G2 for how they did it and why they did it and all that stuff. We just tried to explain it away. Doesn't mean we didn't like them doing it or we hate them for winning. It was just like, it just doesn't make sense, man.
No, this is what I'm telling you. You just have to give up and just go the full viewer experience. Give them everything they want all the time. Right, and then they can, because their opinions are the ones that are right. So
I will say one thing that it's not even about comments specifically, but one thing that I have taken to heart is trying to say like less. And I'm curious if anybody has noticed so far, because I'm being very careful about what I say.
The thing is, they're only going to notice when you do something they don't like. They're not going to notice when you do something they do like.
It's the same with observing, right? Like if you fuck it up, then everybody notices. But if you do it right, nobody notices because that's how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's jump into the next. Well, actually, what we could do, we could look at the teams who qualify for Pro League as well, I suppose, because actually, the thing is that it's missing a couple of teams.
It's not really a good-looking team list right now.
No, it's not. Red Canids.
It's like half of the teams is like I'm not really. Obviously, I don't want to be a hater and be like one of those guys that.
Here we go.
I used to hate.
Ugly hater.
But you are a hater.
I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, this is not a big name, therefore I don't care, you know? But if there's like 10 of these names, I doubt most of them will do anything. Like I like having underdog here and there, you know. We need to give opportunities, but like the team list doesn't look very exciting right now.
What do you mean? Pro League is ESL's flagship event, Prof. What are you talking about?
ESL hater, EPL hater right here. There you go.
But that's what's going to happen when you have 32 teams playing at events.
It's going to be a diluted field, especially with when you're giving 2 spots to Australia. Like you're giving 2 spots to Oz. What's going on there? And are the Mongols even qualified? Hopefully they get in through ranking.
They should get through ranking. Yeah.
Hopefully.
There's like 3. There's like 3 more spots through ranking, so that should happen. Yeah, it's kind of funny that there's ATOX is in there, but at the moment, no Mongols.
Yeah. Flying,
he could also win Jönköping and qualify through that, by the way, because that's also another spot. Yeah,
that'd be cool to see them win that.
Honestly possible because who's their biggest competition? Their complexity, right?
Yeah. That event is not very stacked at all. All right, let's keep flying through the recent news. The next little bit is about vorborg retiring from the coaching position. People might remember him from the Copenhagen Flames days, that he spent some time at EG, which
nobody will remember him for.
Which you don't want to be remembered for. But he's hung up the what would coach?
He was also in Pre-C.
Pre-C.
The tactical timeout sign.
He's logged out of Skybox Edge.
Chad.
The what?
The notebook.
Yeah, the notebook. Yeah. But I think it's pretty tough for coaches, isn't it, to find a team, or at least one that, because I don't know how these smaller orgs work, but I imagine coaches are probably not very highly paid positions. And in terms of organizations that can afford or even have coaches, you're not dealing with a huge amount of them. I wouldn't say. And obviously,
I feel like it's the like sticker money. If you have that kind of a deal in the team, is where you can get the most as a coach. And obviously, if you're the Zonics of the world or whatever, that get like serious. But I think outside of the top 10, 15 already, I think the coaches are really devalued in terms of payment for sure.
Yeah, and he's mentioned, he put out a long statement. I don't know if anybody gave it a read, but he mentioned that he wanted to try and get to the business side of things. So could be doing more managerial type stuff on the back end type stuff. But this piece of news, what he said, was it? Sadly, both projects are committed to fairly quickly changing in nature as both ran into unforeseen economic situations. It's what can happen. I don't blame anyone for it, but just being massive potential I saw in both EG and Pre-C at the time of joining. Yeah, look, I think at the moment as well, I'm definitely not anybody who reads the news. I just occasionally will get little bits coming across my feeds. But right now things are pretty fucky in the world, right? Things are really expensive. Things are where some places in recession. I don't even know if I'm using that terminology correctly as a 34-year-old man. All I know is that your times are tough.
There's inflation going on as well. There's
that one too.
There's some recession. There's a lot of there's some crisis, different types of them.
But we always bounce back, don't we? You know, things are temporary. We'll have a couple years where things are kind of shitty, and then we'll have some years where things are kind of good, and then we'll have some more years where things are kind of shitty, and that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles.
I mean, just to say like 2 cents on him, definitely a guy that showed that he can add value in some of these like smaller teams with very limited budgets that managed to do something. Even Pre-C, I think, was okay considering, you know, what they were. Obviously is notable for the Copenhagen Flames, which is like a super small org in terms of like money and budgets. So
some Pre-C going under, don't they still exist though?
I mean, they made a new team or something, so I don't know what the fuck is going on there.
So it was just financial. They couldn't afford the team that they signed.
Pretty much. I mean, they had Dupree for a while, so who knows what that meant.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, anyone else want to say anything about vorborg? It's not his funeral or anything.
He's probably going to find a spot for himself, I feel like.
All right. Keep kicking along.
I mean, he said something in the statement that he found something outside of esports, or he like got an opportunity somewhere outside of esports that will allow him to focus more on his family. So it seems like he did. That's the reason why he announced his retirement, rather than, you know, announcing his retirement and then looking into whatever else he can do.
Sure. All right. Last piece of news. This is the recent variety. Where did this come from? FURIA show interest in felps. Who reported this? Where did it
was Game Arena, Brazilian outlet. That reported this. Curious piece of rumor. Honestly,
curious. Why curious?
Well, because we've seen it before, right? Paul around interested in teaming up with his old teammates.
Okay. Well, wouldn't
not the first time that would happen.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, the thing is, felps has, to me, in more recent time, has actually started showing again a little bit of decent form. But for the longest period of time, it was very underwhelming. Like it just felt like it was very miss. Like, there was no hit. It was just miss. And he was once upon a time a very aggressive rifler alongside of Fur. When they were both in the same team together at the same time, it was catastrophic. But if they were looking for someone to try and fill that void, I don't think Felps is young anymore, is he?
27.
Okay, so he's okay. Well, he's not done yet, and who knows how far these guys can go these days.
It's just a bit underwhelming, just because of, you'd hope that they would be able to get one of these younger guys, you know, who have been coming up the scene in Brazil, rather than recycling the older talent.
Well, if you're going to take someone from Imperial, wouldn't you go for one of the newer lads like Decent or No Way?
Yeah,
they obviously rolls, but.
Yeah, I don't know how it works role-wise necessarily, because like who knows if that's also the end of the changes, right? But assuming it's just one change, then I'm also not sure that Felps would be a 1-to-1 because I mean Yuri is already pretty aggressive on that side, and maybe there will be some clashes there with Felps. Who knows how it would work otherwise, right? But it's just a bit unfortunate that with the Brazilian scene, how it's looking at the moment, that these big transfers very rarely happen because they are locked behind crazy contracts, and they just, like we saw how much Skulls was worth, you know, when it was going to Liquid, it was like 400,000 or something.
That's 600,
even 600,000, right? And that's a little bit insane, you know, for players that haven't necessarily proven their worth on the international scene.
In some ways, I'd rather have Felps than Skulls, to be honest, on this team.
Okay.
I think it makes more sense to have like a more aggressive player than a more passive player.
Sure.
Obviously, yeah.
I think
there's
Yuri and Caserado are pretty passive, right?
yeah.
Well,
I
Yuri,
mean,
no, Yuri's
Yuri's
not. Yuri's been in pretty aggressive position, but not as necessarily the first guy in.
Yeah, that's why I think like Phelps could work. Insani or whatever. Some of these names would be nice, but nothing doesn't really get your dick hard, as people would say.
As GB
GB
James would say.
James.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one person. Yeah, okay. Yep. Well, they also have to get a coach too, don't they? Because weren't they meant to be replacing Gary
damn,
within that role?
I forgot that they announced that.
Well, that is what they said, right? When they got rid of Art, but Gary's still there and coaching.
But then they did like what do they call it? Like the meeting of the tactical regiment or something.
The tactical regiment.
There was some made up term where it's just like, yeah, it's like Fallen.
I know what you mean though. Yeah.
It was Fallen, Gary, and someone else from the like
brain
management.
trust.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it was
Akari,
like,
no?
okay, Gary, so what do you think? Should Gary be replaced? And he's like, that's a good idea, guys, but maybe you should just give him a bit more time. I think he's been pretty loyal to the team, and then they decided to maybe not replace him after all.
What if I know you said that they should go for someone more aggressive as opposed to a player like Skulls, but what if they just took Skulls and Zeus from Liquid? And they gave Liquid Caserado. Actually, Liquid don't need any more passive players either, do they? Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that one
depends on how they want to restructure the whole thing. But Caserado's had plenty of options. I think at this point we'll just give up on Caserado like we have with Tabson. All right, let's keep going, shall we? Let's keep plodding along. Let's make our way. How much of the YaLLa Compass did you guys watch? The best of ones. I know Striker was invested. He had to be.
I was unfortunately more invested in the results rather than actually watching the games because that's all I could pay attention to at the same time. It was like so much fucking work that the best of ones actually wasn't so much of what I actually watched.
I can tell you, I did not watch much of the YaLLa Compass, so I'll be inquiring about your guys' opinions as much as possible, because I just follow the results, but not actually like in depth watch the game. So I don't think I can add that much quality to the discussion right there.
I definitely wasn't watching a truckload of the best of ones. Like I'd whack a couple on, but I wasn't like fully invested into them when it was like an interesting matchup. I wasn't going to spend the entire time watching all of the games to be honest, this type of event, I think it's a good event to have, right, of this scale, and it had some more notable names in it. This is where events are more important to different teams who are in attendance, but for everybody at this event, you can make an argument of why this would be important for them, right? If FaZe was at this event, it'd be like, okay, well, they should win because FaZe is the team here, but other than that being the angle, right, they might not be motivated because of the field or the prize. Actually, the prize money was
most of these, I was going to say, most of these teams that were invited, actually, all of them had a lot of motivation to play there, maybe, or kind of high goals, because maybe the only team that you could make an argument for not having mega high goals for it would have been Ents, just because it was their first event with SDOI and Potty, so it's more like a testing ground than anything else. But everybody else had like stuff to prove. If you look at, I mean, the entire Group A, otherwise it's Mongolz, NIP, Astralis. Astralis are still looking for their first win with the new team. I'm sure they were very interested in winning this.
Definitely.
Then you have Heroic, who are just back with Dexter. For them in Complexity, maybe it was a little bit weird just because they came straight off of Dallas. Yeah. Complexity went into the tournament like 10 hours before their first game or something like that. They arrived to the hotel. But other than that, I mean, everybody had plenty of motivation to do well. Even Fnatic, who just came in with Blame F, I'm sure like after that big signing, you're kind of looking to get a decent result in. And I would suppose that they did.
Same as Big. I would like, you could make an argument that it's important for like every event that Big's in is important for them. BetBoom the same. This is still a team that's searching for its identity and victories. Eternal Fire, a chance to try and like legitimize themselves more within the upper echelons of Counter-Strike, and they came second last within their group. So
yeah, that was a very disappointing finish.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let's jump in with the meat and potatoes, which is the Mongolz winning back-to-back events. They won the event in their home country against European opponents. They beat Bleed in the final just a week before this one, and then they've gone into this one as one of the, I guess, more favored names. For me, it would have been the likes of Mongolz, Astralis, Complexity, Eternal Fire, Heroic, like that type of a mix before I saw any of the games going down. But those would be the names that I would have been expecting to make deeper runs and probably play some quality Counter-Strike. But that obviously didn't tend to be the case. But for Mongolz, they did lift the trophy, 9-10, getting an MVP of the event. That's pretty sick. And I think for the development of this team, it's huge, right? I think winning in Mongolia is great, especially over European opponents. But then being able to do it at an event, and I know it's not a European event, but it's still considered an international event with mainly European teams in attendance. That is a big step for them. And as far as Asian Counter-Strike goes, I think this is some of the best Counter-Strike, actually probably the best Counter-Strike that we have seen a team from the region play, because they're actually playing Team CS. They're not playing gimmicky Counter-Strike. I love the moves that they make, right? They actually understand the jigsaw puzzle of CS. Okay, we've lost this space. We need to push in an aggro here. The individuals are very sharp. I think that's something that we've been touting for a very long time. Mazinho starting to look more bedded into the team, because I remember earlier on in the year, he looked out of his depths, but he's also only a 16-year-old kid, which needs to be kept in mind. Like, I'm not sure. It's really difficult to put yourself in the shoes of a 16-year-old kid when you're, like a 34-year-old man like me now. I'm very detached from, what does it feel to be 16 again? I know what it's like to play early competition and to be nervous and everything like that. But to be 16, you got the fucking hormones going on. You're thinking about the chicks. You're playing Counter-Strike. There's a lot going on. It's not just going into the server every day. And the team's very young overall. Isn't their average age something like 19?
Yeah, that is true. It's
19.7 now, yeah.
It's pretty nice to see their evolution, like even the last 2 years, even since they came into the scene, like IHC in the qualifiers for the majors. And then obviously did a lot of changes. I think it's only like 2 players maybe that are still around, Blitz and 9-10, I think. Even 9-10 wasn't there, I think, originally.
They're like Annihilation and stuff.
Blitz and Techno were the
so they made a
originals.
lot of changes. Obviously, Hasteka was not the best one. We all remember.
Which is Mazinho's brother.
And that's also just...
I only learned that like way too late after that happened. I was like, they replaced the brother with a brother.
Maybe he was just holding a spot,
Yeah, keeping it warm. Wait until he was 16. I'm not sure how old he would have been at the time.
No,
but
it says Bartak is
Bartak.
Oh, sorry. No,
yeah, there you go.
Sorry, guys. I forgot about Bartak. There was Bartak. He wasn't that good either. He was.
No, neither of them fit in particularly well.
Nah, sorry, guys. We're spreading fake news. Look at this.
No, Bartak is Mozinho's brother, and who is Hasteka's brothers then?
I don't know.
Nobody's Hasteka's brother. Maybe he doesn't have a brother.
What about Blitz? Does Blitz have a sister, perhaps?
Who plays chess? Maybe that's what we'd be looking for. No, but I think obviously the biggest news around it is people getting upset about the terminology from Liquipedia, with it being like labeled as an S tier event. Which I think it's important that the event is framed for what it is. So I can understand why people are getting their panties in a bunch, but at the same time, the conversation for me is more about the fact that this team are on the rise and what they're doing for the region is huge. And with the conversations we were having last week about how things may be affected once you get into next year with no RMRs and how teams would be, if you have an Asian team that is constantly going to be
potentially no RMRs.
Yeah, potentially no RMRs. All of it is speculation, obviously, guys. Nothing. We don't know anything just yet. Hopefully, we know more soon. But with the way that I kind of foresee it going, I think that would be huge for the region. And there's a lot of talent within Mongolia, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to have another Mara. But they definitely have a lot of players who have been through Mara, who they might be like Atox is an example. There was the Huns.
Yeah,
I think the Huns was another one, which had basically just a shitload of players who had played for the Mongolz or IHC in the past.
Yeah.
So
there are people like Cabal and those guys from the older Mongolian teams that have plenty of experience, even have been to international tournaments, so they can pick up the mantle for these second, third best teams.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just been, realistically, first getting the third major slot, and now this are the 2 best results for an Asian team, probably aside of the Renegades 100 teams guys, yes, right?
At the Berlin Major.
Those are the only like comparable results, and to some degree, it is the same Asia Pacific region, but like specifically for Asia, like none of the Chinese teams did anything like close to this, right? And having this level of consistency between in following events, like sometimes they would have like a playoff run, and like they had that Sydney event where Tyloo reached the playoffs, but never had the consistency. And I think obviously with Mongolz, you have them at every event that they go to internationally. They're always getting at least a few wins, getting, playoffs or close to playoffs and stuff like that. So it's looking very promising from that side, and you just got to give them props for the achievements, right?
I think you could also tell, that they were getting hyped up for the major already. A lot of the players that they were playing against in practice, they were saying, like, I know our favorite for the major, kind of half jokingly, of course, but you could tell that they were getting a lot of respect from the other teams through practice. And there's only so much you can say about practice results, but if enough people say it about you, then of course you have something going for you, and that maybe didn't necessarily transition or translate into a good result at the major itself. They made it to the second stage, but that was pretty much the max achievement that they got, because I think they went 0-3 after that. But now it's kind of slightly delayed. They're getting some good results in with the playoffs run in Pro League, and now the couple of international tournament wins. I think it's great. Obviously, if you look at how the Astralis series went, I think I don't want to call it lucky, because they did a lot to earn those disadvantageous situations that they won towards the end of Ancient. But realistically, like 4 out of the other 5 times they would play against Astralis, they lose that series probably, just because of the way that Astralis threw some of these super advantages. That was a little bit disappointing on the other side.
Yeah, that was the series which was most interesting to me overall, because during the group stage, Mongolz lost to them in the best of 1. But in the best of 3, this was one where they could definitely, and it didn't start very well for them, right? I think the comeback on Mirage, that was wait, they won Nuke? Yeah, they won Nuke. Astralis won Mirage. Yeah. And then it went to Ancient as a third. But yeah, Astralis were losing a lot of situations like that. I remember there was a 2v4 retake of the B-bomb site. They were losing a lot of rounds that they definitely shouldn't, and they were just getting isolated. Like, there was no trade potential in a lot of those scenarios. They weren't really playing off of each other, and that's what made those rounds a possibility.
Yeah, the amount of solo duels they got in disadvantages, like Mongolz, from Astralis was crazy. That was 3 different rounds that would have probably ended the game, or actually ended the game, that should have gone the other way, and they just didn't, because they were just peaking solo a lot of the time. That was kind of crazy to see from a team as experienced.
And it was a tough series for Device, and I think that's probably one of the, I don't want to call it themes. I think it would be one of the things that people will point to if this continues to happen with Astralis. Well, do we want to pivot into the Astralis? Are we done talking about the Mongols?
I would also just give props to Senzu, because he was actually at the end of it, even though stats didn't necessarily show that overall. If you look a little bit deeper, the maps where he didn't turn up were like some of the ones that didn't necessarily matter. In all the wins, he was there. He was their best player in the playoff run in those 4 map wins that they got on the way to against Astralis and NIP. And actually there was a pretty reasonable discussion that he could have been the MVP. In the end, it didn't happen just because of the consistency from 9-10. But he was big for the run. Mizinho was huge to the run. That was by far his best tournament so far. Possibly after the Misa tournament that they won against Bleed. I didn't actually watch that one, so I can't really speak to that too much. But I think
time zone wasn't conducive for that one.
Yeah, we were also Dallas. I was also in Dallas at the time, so it was impossible. But I think Mizinho was probably the biggest outlier compared to what we've seen before. And if he doesn't have to do this all the time for them to be competitive, but at least if he keeps up a decent performances, where he doesn't have so many disappearances like he used to in the first few events that he played with Mongolz, I think that's going to make them a scary team, because they have enough depth with Senzu, 9-10, and Blitz. Even Techno has a lot of good games. They actually do kind of take turns a lot of the time in who's carrying the game. So I think there's the depth of talent with Mizinho also having some of these peaks is pretty deep. Plus, they're, as you were saying earlier at the beginning of the conversation, that they actually play good CS. They do play team CS, and everything seems to make sense.
Yeah, there was something here I wanted to jump. Oh yeah, with the positions Mizinho plays, he can't go into a game and get bullied or shit the bed. Yeah. One of the two, right? Like, because playing these anchor positions, you definitely just can't get. As long as he's getting his one and delaying, or maybe getting that necessary multi-kill, that's the type of impact we're looking from players like him in those type of positions. All right, let's jump around a little bit. I think we may as well just pick up with the Astralis point. We can go to NIP because I want to go from, I don't want to say negative. I don't want to go just positive, and then just pile on with the downside.
It is a negative, I would say, because like Astralis going into this tournament were
Probably
clear
the favorite.
favorites.
Yep.
Clear favorites. So they just had that pressure on them to win because no one else from the big like top 10 teams was there. If I look back at the rankings, I don't know exactly,
It was
but
heroic and complexity after them.
yeah, so they're definitely the biggest name there on a good like trajectory and everything, and it looked like their time to like grab a trophy and
But they've
establish
come
themselves.
third, fourth at every event they've gone to, right?
Yep. There's
And-
a bit of a curse.
But
Old-
okay, so
Old
we
TSM vibes.
exactly.
Yeah.
We could go down that angle and talk about
It's
something that
Device's
happened a
comfort
decade
zone.
ago. But I don't think. Look, other than similarities and not winning, that's probably the only thing that we're looking at, right? In that regard. But for them, I think the other events which were more stacked in terms of the teams, which we were talking about, and bigger events and difference in stages and all that kind of jazz. Some of those third, fourths, like Chengdu, for example, I think you'd weight them as better third, fourths, just like we're not weighting this event as an S tier event. Someone made a good comment just in chat, just a little bit further up. They said, I think only Katowice, Cologne, and Majors are deserved to be called S tier events. I think that's pretty fair.
I mean, it's all about like I hate these discussions because it's so like semantics. It's like what do I think what something should be called? It's like you call it whatever you want to call it, and someone else is going to call it something else. But then everyone just gets upset about it. It's like it's Wikipedia standard, and that's fine. But it also does not feel real. It feels a bit too wide of a
description,
of a description, and it's also like the highest tier available, right? It's not like it's somewhere in the middle, and then you can maybe you want to put it a bit up and a bit down. It does feel a bit disingenuous, and I understand why people are like calling it out, because I think that's kind of our job to say like, yes, this was great, but it's not this great. They did not win a Cologne. It's not close to winning a major at all. It's
or even any other what we would call a big event.
Yeah, it's not
just
even like
three top 10
comparable
teams,
to winning Dallas, right? It's not, regardless of the prize pool.
Well, they didn't have Stewie 2K. How could it possibly be?
Yeah, but in terms of the achievements and the legacy of this win, it's not on that level. It's still great. It's still historic, but we don't need to oversell something, especially when it's great.
It's a great achievement for the Mongolz.
Yeah, honestly,
it's great for Asian Counter-Strike, and it's all more positive signs of where they're going as a team.
Yeah.
It depends on the framing of what we're looking at it from. So that for the Mongolz and in their country and all the supporters and anybody who wants to see the Mongolz do well, and especially the team, this is huge. This is massive. It's another step in the right direction to legitimizing them as a top Counter-Strike team within the world. And now if they go into the next big event, right, and they're able to if they go into Jönköping and they win again, it's like, holy shit, okay, fuck, like we're getting some consistency at this level, and that makes it more exciting when you do get to a Cologne. And you're like, okay, well now we're into the events where there's a bit more pressure. Maybe if they make it to the stage, there's going to be a big crowd. How are they going to perform in those type of conditions? And it's good stepping stones. Like this is the perfect conditions to a team stepping in the right direction to where they need to be to actually be a contender. And if you can consistently from that region make it to playoffs of even just these events that we're talking about, right? Then you go into big events, you're able to do it. Then the upper echelon event, that's fucking sick. That's what we want to see.
I mean, just to put it into context, like there are many pretty good teams that have not won a tournament of this caliber ever, or in the last 3 years. Like for example, Complexity have 0 LAN tournament wins, even including like the Dream Hacks and stuff like that. They have not won a trophy, right? FURIA, until like the Lisa tournament last year, have not won a trophy in ages, since like the online era as well, right? Complexity also won online. So these are like some of the stable top 10, 15 teams, super big investment and everything, that have not managed to lift a trophy, right? And Mongolz have done it in a tournament where, for example, both of these teams were competing. Astralis also, I don't know when they won something smaller, I feel like, recently, but other than that, it's a huge achievement regardless. Like, and also it's an MVP event for us, so it's like the first Mongolian player to get an MVP, which is kind of crazy.
I wish I knew how to say their names. Their names just look so like amazing. It's if like their actual, not their aliases. If people go and look at their actual names, like I couldn't even try. I think maybe Mazinho's is the easiest. Ayush Batbold. That's probably the easiest out of the bunch.
And you have to bet that that's not how he pronounces it either. So
no way. No way in the world. Okay, we were talking about Astralis. So this team with another third, fourth. What do we? I think that the type of Counter-Strike that they play in some of these games, I don't want to call it a collapse. No, maybe I do want to call it a collapse. I've been watching the test. For anybody out there who's a cricket fan, I've been watching that on the Amazon Primes, and they use the term that when they're talking about the batting order collapsing. What do we think's going on with Astralis in an event like this where they go in as the favorites? Is it still too early for this team? Is it acceptable for them to lose to a team like the Mongolz? I think it is. I think it's acceptable for them to lose to a team like the Mongolz.
I wouldn't call it as I wouldn't go as far as to call it unacceptable. It's more the way that they did. Okay. Because if they lost in a way where they just get outplayed at every corner, like I can understand if the other team has such a good game that sometimes it's just hard to get into it. You lose all the key rounds, you know, sometimes it just, games do go that way sometimes, but it's more like Device was such a disappearance and so visibly off that it almost made me think, like, is he sick again? Like, what is going on with him? Because
just be I haven't pressure as a leader.
It could be that part of it as well. But at the same time, I mean, even in the mat that they won, he wasn't really doing anything. Like, it was such a disappearance series wide that I was just confused about what was going on there. I don't think we've seen that from Device in a long time, regardless of what the status of the team was, really. So that part was curious to me. I'd like to hear from him because he hasn't really said anything ever since. So that's that was my biggest takeaway from it, because even on the Ancient, at the end of it, he was missing some really bad op shots. Even his sprays with like AKs, when he had fairly favorable duels, he just lost them because he missed the spray, like people walking into his duel, stuff like that, you know. And of course, a lot of it could be just like he's talking to someone, he's trying to direct the team at that time. Like, those things will happen to in-game leaders sometimes, but the situations in which it happened to him, that like was not the case. He was just about to go into a peak. He was going for an opening, just completely misses it. You know, things like that were happening that just I couldn't explain away by like the in-game leadership perspective. So I don't want to put it all on him because it wasn't. But that realistically, if he had even a decent game in that Ancient, they would have easily won it. Yeah.
I think if their team player was better on Ancient, they would have won it as well. Because someone in chat said they had 3 2v4s and one
3v5. I think it was 5v3. Yeah.
And that's those type of rounds. If you're losing multiple of those within a series, within a series, right? Like if we're talking across the court, if you lost that many over,
it was even like 10 within like 10 rounds or something. The last 10 rounds of Ancient, I think all of those happened there.
That's the thing. You can't really put that, I feel like, on the IGL.
No, of course not. No,
I think that's just like every player, and especially the mid-round calls. And it's like, I mean, to some degree, obviously it's on the IGL because he is also a player on the server, so he can do stuff. But it's usually those things are kind of inexperienced. Some of the players not really coming, and it's just like complete, not guessing, but like Down as a secondary caller is someone that you need to rely on in these situations, I feel like.
You say Stout?
Well. Yeah.
He had a good series, I thought.
He played well, but like I know that in the past he would, just all of these extra guys would get quiet and not really, you know, go through with some of these micro decisions sometimes. So hopefully it's not that, but it could be as well.
It could be down to just inexperience as an in-game leader. Like sometimes if you are very experienced, you will recognize those situations. Like if you will see, I don't know, I'll throw out like an Alexei, you know, he would probably immediately say like, calm down, it's a 4v2. Like instantly there would be a call from him because he recognizes, okay, this is a situation where people can just overpeak. One guy overpeaks, he could just stop it immediately, you know. But that's maybe something that will also come with time for Device, because you just don't get to throw away so many of those situations and not get punished for it. So disappointing to see for sure, especially because the inexperience angle doesn't really work for this team. Even Stair now has quite a bit of experience on this kind of a stage. Beast Down. I mean, those guys have been playing Device, obviously. Those guys have been playing on the biggest stages for a while now, for a couple of years, for Device, even a decade, you know, at this point. So that to me was the most disappointing thing about Astralis.
Well, I mean, they also just I wanted to ask, because they also played very close to against BetBoom, right? Yeah. That was the third map overtime win to go through. So I think that's also kind of a worrying sign. So it's not just Mongolz. Like BetBoom have done kind of fuck all since they came together, right? This is a team that they're supposed to deal with quite handily, but it looked pretty tight.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to condemn the run of Astralis because it's another third, fourth, and as far how long has the team been together for now? Right, I'm not trying to make it ways out. I'm just
Chengdu was their first tournament, right? And that was
what, 3 months?
It was like about a month in since they replaced the play map. So yeah, it's like 4 months, something like that.
Well, the thing is, you can definitely see there's a lot of the calling that they do that I think is quite like spawn based, and they like to get started. And I think it's always nice when you can win games with like momentum calling. That's a lot easier than having to like default and mid round and do everything like that. I still think that there has to be an element of this that is the mental side. And someone in chat was saying, "Oh, it can't really be an exclusive device regarding the in-game leadership, though, because he's been doing it for a while." I don't know if I'd consider doing it for 3 months as a while, right? Like I know that they've played a bunch of events already, but this is still going to be a learning experience for him. And I know what you're saying. The players are relatively experienced, but for Bro and Stare as well, I wouldn't say
Bro's definitely inexperienced, and Stare I would lean towards inexperienced as well.
I'm not putting I wouldn't say like they're in a position where they're primed and ready to start winning like the big events right now. Like they're in their progression phase.
Yeah.
I think a win for them is important, right? Important for a couple of factors. One, to get the reps under the belt for the likes of Bro and Stare in a bigger matches where there is more pressure. It's going to be great for Device to be able to call under more pressure environments, and then also for him to be able to win a tournament and go, oh, shit, I just did that while AWPing and in-game leading. And then to also break through that threshold for the likes of Stown, maybe a little bit more so than Yabi, where he was one of the more later additions over there at Heroic. So he doesn't necessarily get the same tarnishing of the brush as what Stown did, because the big conversation around him is going missing in the bigger games. Yeah. But it's important for Stown and Yabi to get past that point as well, based off of their history in those type of games. So some tournament wins, a win like this would have been a good one. It would have been, I think, a catalyst for them to find a little extra bit of confidence. But now they go into this final event of the year, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, of Blast Spring Finals, and they're not in the toughest. Well, I don't know, Saw's in there. Look, it's Navi, Astralis, FaZe, and Saw. You would expect them to get out of that group and then make it to the playoffs. It's another one of these fucking 16 playoff brackets where they skip around.
And reasonably, I think you'd probably expect them to be favorites going into the Navi series at this point, especially considering Navi's form. I mean, even if you look at odds, they're like 170 to 213. They're like 55% favorites in that match. And I mean, that makes perfect sense if you look at the last couple of events for Navi. That was hardly anything impressive from them, especially in Dallas when they go out to Heroic. You know, like you understand a Spirit loss, but not to Heroic that is playing with Nikoros again. You know, so from that perspective, I think they're even going into a place where they could, and then they're playing a FaZe team that they've already beaten a couple of times in Chengdu. You know, and have been competitive against. So not like a group that's they're going in as underdogs.
Yeah, so them making another playoff appearance is very important. I think it's still early in the development of this team, but I think it's disappointing because it could have been an event where they won the trophy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Out of like all the events that they played so far, this is the one which they had the clearest way of winning and locking themselves a spot within the final. I think also if they did better within the group, they wouldn't have found themselves on the same side of the bracket as Mongolz, and that would have been better as a grand final. Even though we'll talk about NIP in a second, they played some of the best Counter-Strike NIP has played in years. But as far as Astralis is concerned,
I mean, you could say the same for Astralis, to be honest. Like for this whole season, this is the best they have played since I don't even know.
No, but they had a couple of like spots, little sparks along the journey.
Yeah,
they were like, oh, blame F and config. They're good for one event. Boom.
Cologne playoffs. Yeah.
Boom. You know, there was a couple of those like little spots.
Yep.
But I just want to say, like, regardless of how Blast goes, unless it's like a complete, I don't know, fall apart scenario from Astralis, like this season and the turnaround since failing to get to the major, I think has been incredible for them, right? No one really knew how they could recover from that, and it was like everything was kind of on the line, and they made one roster change, added a new coach, and like now they're competitive again, you know, stable in the top 10. So I guess props for that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's jump into let's talk about NIP. I don't think we're going to blow anybody's minds if I went and said Wrinkle played good, because Wrinkle played good at Pro League. And Wrinkle was one of these open names from Ukraine that we were talking about for a while. It's like, someone's going to pick this guy up. He's definitely got something to him. I didn't realize he was as tall as a basketball player and got fired up all the time. I've learned that about him over Pro League and this event again. He looks like he brings good energy to the team. But Wrinkle is a very exciting player to watch within that NIP roster. So I just want to reinforce that, because for me, he is probably the driving force of the team, the thing to get the most excited about. But overall, now that they actually have Isaac in the roster, the pieces make a lot more sense, which I think is what we knew was happening anyway. And Isaac is a player who has had some really big milestones over his, I want to say short career, but it's probably not a short career when you go back into like the realms of him coming out of tier 2 and everything like that, right? But obviously with the Game Allegiance stuff over the last couple of years, they've always been a plucky team. And especially under Ash as a coach, I think this is something that is really difficult for us to ever be able to frame. And I love the fact that Ash is putting content out on his YouTube channel. You get to learn a little bit more how his mind works as a coach. But that seems like more of a system team where I would actually contribute a lot of their successes or close games or victories when you wouldn't expect it, or style where they can grind matches out to the coach. So with Isaac coming into this team, understanding what he needs to do in the roster for it to work, not to be like because he doesn't play massive fragger positions, right? He's your especially when he was in Game Legion with Imma, he would do a lot to support Imma and set him up and help him feel quite comfortable. I thought when Imma was gone, you got a lot more out of Isaac, and you saw some exciting moments, and maybe you will get to when he is a bit more comfortable in NIP. But NIP at the moment, that is going to be what I know. We were just talking about this with Astralis, but that's going to be their best result in absolute years. Like I can't remember the last time NIP ever did anything. It was like going back to where Device was in the team, and it was in Stockholm just out of COVID or something. Am I crazy? Was it that long ago?
I mean, there was actually that event that they win it, or did they finish second? That was also in Abu Dhabi like a year or two ago. That was like their last.
Wait, what?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Did they lose to MOUZ or something, or did they win? What was
I'm gonna go check.
But it was like a
exactly
one-off.
it's
not like it's not a relevant result, but it's just funny because it was also in Abu Dhabi. So
Abu Dhabi buff.
You mean Global Esports Tour Dubai?
Yes,
that's the one. They won
Dubai,
that. That's 2 years ago, even now.
Holy shit! 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Max Shoddy in chat found it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's pretty good. Again, they made a team that makes sense. It's the bar is not that high. Like the bar to be the best team in the world is very high, but the bar to just like compete is not
to
that
be
high.
better than an IP have been.
It's not that high. It just has to make like kind of make sense to if you go on like Cologne and you ask like everyone that's there about your roster, and everyone says like this is weird as fuck and makes no sense, then you probably made a shit roster. And I feel like that was like the last 10 NIP rosters. So now if you go around and ask people, be like, oh, they have some Swedish talent there, some good opera, blah, blah. Just looks kind of okay. And it translates into actual results.
Yeah. For me, it was watching Wrinkle was really exciting. I do think that he's kind of a repeat offender in terms of over-peaking. When he gets a kill, he will always go for the second, regardless of the situation. There were a few moments where he threw it away. I think one of them even happening against the Mongolz, where it kind of gave away a free round for them, where he was aggressing out of apps, and he got one kill like on a guy who was walking into him, and then he goes in peeking into T-spawn where another guy is waiting for him, just kills him back, and they give up the A side for it, So these situations that kind of went the wrong way when he's like in this kind of a mode. But then again, I'm also sure that with people like Threat and Exist behind him, they will teach him how to strike that balance a little bit better.
It's a tough balance though. That's one of the things that you never want to. It's not that you don't want to teach your AWPer when are the right situations to do this or not, but you never want to do the scenario where they feel like you've gone too far, so then they're never willing to take these chances, because he had so many rounds where his impact, it was like, holy, he's just won them around. Like that 2K, that's it. He's just done it. It's tough to strike that balance.
Exactly, but it's just about showing them, first of all, how to take these risks better sometimes, because sometimes it was just literally like a wide peak because he was excited, and like in those situations where you're not supposed to, where you are supposed to calm down, or at least you will take the peak in a more smarter way. You know, you're jiggle first, then you will repeat. You know, these type of things. Like he was getting very excited in situations where more experienced operators would probably take that situation a little bit differently. I do like that this is his mentality. I would much rather have that than him being like, I don't want to put him up against Hetrick as like some big comparison, but Hetrick was obviously very passive, never really did anything in terms of initiative in these rounds, you know, that were swing rounds, while Wrinkle definitely has the mentality where I'm going to be the one who makes a play. So I like that. I like that mentality a lot. It makes for a very exciting opera, and it also makes for, like, he has to be that type of an opera for this team, because it's not like they don't have some talent outside of that, but they do need the opera to be their best player for them to have some success. So he needs to be in the mindset where he has to take over. He wants to take over games. So from that aspect, I like it. I do think that he will learn because he's still very young. He's still quite inexperienced. He's 19. He has enough people around him that will help him with that. That I will believe that he will get better at these things, and he will just grow into a more like balanced opera as well, like where he knows how to take these risks and when it's smarter to back off. You know,
the one, like, we're Glaze and Wrinkle right now, but the one that I want to feel a bit happy for is Alex, right? Because I was worried that he would join this team and that nothing would ever. Because think about when he first joined. Think about how much of a shit show it's been.
Yeah.
And he's only been there for a short period of time, right? He hasn't been there for very long.
Since September, yeah, it's like three quarters of a year.
Think about how fucked up it was for the majority of that time. Like, only since they got Isaac has it gone, oh, okay. Well, now you actually
like 3 months ago now, by the way. What is it, 2 months ago now?
What, since Isaac's been in the team? Has it already been 2 months?
I think it's maybe not 2 months, but it was like after Pro League that he got like 100% signed. So
was it probably like
that's a month ago.
3 weeks ago?
That's a month, yeah. Not 2 months, sorry. Anyway, that is a month ago since they finished the team. But
Alex
at least they had Blue
7
Phoenix,
months.
they had the quarter.
Jesus.
You know?
Yeah, 7 months for Alex, 2 months for Maxter, 2 months for Wrinkle, 1 month for Isaac. So only in the last, let's round up, say 2.5 months that things have actually started to come together. Who was there when, like, Alex was there when Config was there?
I mean, it was
Hetrick
the whole.
was there.
It was everybody else.
Esatag was there.
Oh yeah, they promoted Esatag at the same time, or not promoted, but got him back from the bench for a while.
Well, Esatag was IGLing before Alex came in, no? So
it just, I'm happy that he gets to have a roster that makes a lot more sense now. That's what I'm happy for. That Alex gets an opportunity to try and lead a team where, at least on paper, it looks like it makes sense. Oh, and you know what makes the most sense? Existrian 3 months ago. And since then, they've signed Maxter, Wrinkle, and Isaac. Yeah,
I did a little bit of a piece around it. It's not something groundbreaking that we haven't heard from an IP, but kind of like going through their transition, how they, I called it resetting, or like hitting the reset button, because they went from changing the staff behind the team from, Jonas Gunderson being out completely as the COO. Then they brought in Threat as the GM. Then
Eric Wendell,
or like before that, Eric Wendell was made the move up to head of esports, or whatever, director of esports, I think is his title. Then they bring back Threat. Then they bring on Exist as the coach, and that's kind of how it starts, right? Then they build the rest of the team around Alex and Rez. So I think there's a lot more sensibility there, let's say.
Yeah, well, what I guess the one piece of this team, and he is now a 26-year-old man, but the IEM Oakland 2017 major MVP, no, not major, MVP.
1997 Oakland MVP.
Yeah, Rez has been a part of this team for almost 7 years now. 6 years and 11 months. And as far as months work, guys, when you get to 12 months, that makes a year. So we're so close to 7 years, which is insane that he has been a part of this team for that long. But he had a decent showing, I would say, at this event, like for Rez standards. It must be nice to feel for him as well that the team is a bit more cohesive around him, right? Obviously, it's not built around him or anything like that, but to have the pieces that are working, like your AWP, are actually going for plays and making play, like initiating rounds. So that must be nice for Rez. What's up, Prof? What's so funny?
And just look at the chat. I am Oakland 2700 BC MVP, 436 AD Ken MVP. I am Babylon 2000 BC. Great. Love it.
It is wild though, like to think. But yeah, I don't know what else to really say about NIP other than it was their best showing in a while. They played some good Counter-Strike. I don't want to get too like hyped and be like, oh, NIP are back, because I think this is one very small step for man.
I do think it's
Swedish man.
I do think it's a much bigger step than we would have expected going into it. I didn't think they would make it to the final. I just expected them to be reasonably competitive. I wasn't even sure they would. I mean, I didn't think they were going to make it out of the group. I just thought, okay, maybe they're going to take like a win over NIP. Maybe they're going to take one win over Heroic and then lose to the other two.
Yeah, but I need to see this more times, Striker. I understand what you're saying in the sense that this is above expectations of what we had for the team. But also going into this, for a team like NIP, this is their Super Bowl. We're talking about a lot of teams in this event having motivation to do well, and some of them absolutely flopping. But they really probably wanted to do very well here. But I need to see it replicated at another event of similar stature before I'm going to get my excitement meter clicking. Because at the moment it's like, cool, we're in the right direction. But how
not
real
even
is
similar stature? I feel like against some better teams, they didn't really play any like great teams.
They beat Astralis in the best of one. But
yeah, the best of ones were like ends Heroic Astralis wins, like Heroic Astralis I think pretty good. Heroic, I feel like I didn't really put a lot of stock in them at this event just because.
No, you said that last episode,
and everything, and it kind of came across for Heroic and Complexity that they just crashed out and underperformed based on expectations. And then the best of these were Fnatic, FURIA, and Mongolz. Like okay, but before this event we wouldn't be like, if you beat FURIA and Fnatic, that's going to be a great sign. Like
made it,
that doesn't mean anything to anyone right now, right? Obviously, both of these teams made it to the playoffs, so it's a legit win, and the final was pretty close. But let's just see like how they deal with actually strong teams.
Yeah. And they have another quote unquote STU tournament ahead of them in Buenos Aires in like a week now.
I saw Wrinkle say that he was going to Argentina. I was like,
I thought at first he was going to vacation. Yeah. And then I saw the rest of and I'm like, is whole of NIP going on holidays? Like what is this? Is this like old Big? Do you remember when Big used to do like vacations?
Team holidays, yeah,
that's before they got rid of Gob. I think they might be dead now.
No more
Possibly.
Gob.
Yeah,
I'm just having a look at this. Holy shit. I didn't even know this event existed.
Yeah. Wait. That's an event that they like, that's now you kind of expected to make them to make it to the final.
Come on now. I don't know if you expect anything. This would be a chance for them. This would be very important for them if they can clear the group, right? And it's only a 14 playoff. If they can clear the group, and then if they can make it playoffs, that's enough. That's enough.
Okay.
There's no good teams there.
No,
because I think it's unrealistic, like to expect them to just. We don't really know how to measure the form, right? I think
that it's also not the easiest group for them, to be honest. Like Pain and 9Z have taken down some pretty decent names in the past. So
9Z in Dallas,
9Z obviously now in Dallas, but I mean, Biguzera was tearing it up at the major, right? So it's not like these teams are just throwaway teams that they should beat any other day. But after this, there's definitely a chance for them to make another deep run.
Yeah, well, I think if they make it out of the group, they could get up against another Fnatic again. Koi's going to be there. We're going to have some Red Canids there, a bit of Imperial. So okay, I didn't even know that was going on. FiRELEAGUE, 150 grand, 100K first prize. People just throwing money around, aren't they?
Yeah, it got moved like 3 times, to be fair. Like it was supposed to be in Spain or Portugal. I think Spain it was supposed to be like 3 months ago. That was the first plan, but they ended up moving it. Or even last year, I think. Anyway.
Do we want to do ads now, or do we want to do the Skinionaire and then ads? Because the Skinionaire is NIP connected.
All right, ads. Let's do ads, and then we'll do Skinionaire. BRB.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.
Thank you for sticking with us through the short break. We are back with Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Tradeit.gg. Tonight's contestant, the man with the plan. He loves a bit of pussy in his life. It's Striker. He's come in to get you 5 from 5. So one lucky winner in chat can take home a $50 voucher to spend to their pleasure at Tradeit.gg, the sponsor of this lovely segment. Now, if you haven't been here before and you want to know how this one works, type Trader in chat right now. That'll be your raffle ticket. And that raffle ticket will put you in the draw to be championed by our contestant, which tonight will be Striker. 5 questions, multiple choice. Everyone who gets right moves the slider up. 50 cents, $2.50, $7.50, $15, and $50 on the nose if we get all 5 right. Are we ready to go, Striker?
Yes, I hope so.
All right, let's get things underway. Question number 1. Before joining Gamer Legion, Isaac played for Lil Mix, Medium Lobby, Big Party.
I mean, it should be a little mix.
I'm going to be selecting A. Little Mix. Correct answer is Lil Mix. All right,
I thought Lil Mix was
one.
only after that, but I guess it's been around for a while.
I thought Lil Mix was like a UK artist or something like that. Here's
No, it's
Lil
been a
Mix
Swedish
with that
mix,
crash hit.
Swedish mix / pretty serious team for a while, but I thought that was like after Isaac rather than during that time, because Isaac's been in Gamer Legion for like 3 years.
A long time.
Yeah,
a long time. All right, question number 2. For which of the following teams has Alex never played for? Epsilon, Kick, or LDLC? Oh, that's tough. Hope he used the right Alex and didn't pick the British one.
I mean, the
British one definitely played for LDLC.
Yeah, he definitely played for LDLC, but not the other two. This is like one of those things where I am thinking Kick seems like so obvious that he should be there, that he didn't actually play there, but surely he must have been there at some point. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to remember
why would he have
played
for LDLC.
That's what I'm trying to remember, like if there's a chance, because LDLC also at some point had like a European team, so I'm
Did they?
trying to I'm just trying to, they were called like LDLC OL whatever.
Oh,
I will pick LDLC, but I'm not actually 100% sure.
okay. Locking in LDLC, and the correct answer is
Because it is the British Alex that played there, yeah.
Okay, nice little trick question for number 2. Now, in case you guys have missed this appears to be a quiz about NIP. Now, it might be wrong. You never know. I might be wrong. We might get the next question. It's not about NIP. Let's find out. Question number 3. Who did Rez replace on the NIP roster in 2017? Was it Freiburg, Exist, or Draken?
Well, I'm assuming it wasn't Draken. 2017 is too early for that anyway. Draken was after that because Rez was the first new guy to come in.
When did Exist stand in for FaZe?
I am Sydney 2018.
Yeah. I think it's I'm fairly sure it's Freiburg. Forrest Get Right were there 100%. I mean, those two guys left quite a lot after that. I'm trying to remember when Exist left, but I think they won Oakland with Exist as well.
Because he would have been in-game leading, right? So it would have been Exist, Get Right, Forrest, Draken, Rez.
Bro, I feel like
I think you're right with him. You got to watch that game. 6 seconds.
I am actually kind of 50-50 between him and Exist. I'm not 100% sure.
All right, locking in A. Freiburg. Correct answer is Freiburg. Okay. Yeah.
I was trying to remember the the winning picture from Oakland.
All you
and
can
I
see
seem
is
to remember
red, so I don't
Freiburg.
know
The
what else you
problem
can
is,
see.
but the problem is they won both, and they won one with Freiburg. So I remember the picture with Freiburg. So I just mind fucked myself.
He looks Well, he actually looks the same. I was just looking at the picture of him, MVP 2017. It looks like the same guy. He's just got
Kinda,
the
yeah.
muscles now. That's probably the only real difference with Rez, I would imagine. All right, question number 4. Flying through these, 3 from 3 so far. After leaving NIP, how many teams did play exist before retiring as a player? After leaving NIP, how many teams did exist play for before retiring as a player? I believe that's what that's meant to say. How many teams did he play for?
Man.
Did the standing count?
I don't know.
Okay, great. Well, I guess
I would say
he played for FaZe, right?
Yeah. But I don't know if that counts necessarily.
Which
But he
teams?
played for... Who did he play for after that?
Did he
Did he
play
play
in
in Dignitas? I'm trying to remember.
He must have, right? Because they
must
had
have been two.
HooXi and as their
But
role.
I'm trying to
Everyone
remember
except for Flaren played in Dignitas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I think it's 2. I don't think it was 3 or more. I can't remember anybody else.
Fnatic.
Did he? Yeah, he did play for Fnatic, didn't he?
Oh, right. I guess we'll see if FaZe counts or not.
Oh, you've locked
Okay.
it in?
Who else?
Oh, 3 or more. Well, I guess it's just 3. Who was in that Fnatic team? It was like
He was there with Draken
JW
even at some point, no?
Crims.
Draken was there at some point. But
Brolin, I
like
think.
outside of after JW.
But Golden was Golden there when they won Pro League? Who was there when they won Pro League?
Golden was there.
Okay.
That was the last ditch from Brolin.
I feel like we should give this though, because it's just
Dignitas and
Fnatic,
Fnatic,
Dignitas
right?
and FaZe, right? And
Yeah.
FaZe is kind of like a stand-in. So
He played with Gen G.
I feel
man.
like we should.
He played with Gen G in fucking
what?
Flashpoint.
That was also stand-in.
Yeah.
I feel like we should give it. I feel
As-
like we should give it because
props
I
the
didn't know.
commissioner. So
I
you
didn't
can
know
give
that.
it.
I didn't know the details. Couldn't give the details. We'll give this a green
How
light.
is not know these details?
There you go. You hear it, Lucas. You've heard it from the commissioner. It's gone up to 4. All right, question number 5. This is for the whole schmackaroo. Before joining Bait, Wrinkle played for Gucci Squad, EC Kiev, or Malian. Sounds like a fish.
It is
It's not
no?
Gucci Squad because that predates. B8 predates that. EC Kiev was obviously a Ukrainian team, but I don't remember him playing there.
Who the fuck is? What is a Malian?
I don't know. I
also
googled
I'm
it and I
also
just got an
thinking about
Instagram of a lady. Looks like a music / band. God first, Queen.
I mean,
God ass B.
okay. I will lock in EC Kiev just because that seems to make the most sense. I don't actually know Marlian, so if that's that, I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of Malian before. All right, the correct answer is Malian. All right, I want to see who was on this roster.
Yeah, I have no
Let me have a
idea
look. Are they even still a team? There's ex Malian and there's Malian.
Oh,
Okay, so he would have been there when he wasn't there for
Native
such a short.
owner.
Oh, he was
yeah.
there twice.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't remember this.
He was there and then
wasn't
he wasn't
the owner
there.
did owner get banned?
I don't think owner got banned. Did he?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Why would he have gotten banned?
I don't know.
I mean, because he was part of those several of those. Zontix was playing on that team
At
by
the
the
same
way.
time, yeah.
I see.
Wow.
Okay. I
Okay.
don't remember this whatsoever. He was there, so bro. He was there for like 2 months. What is this question?
Yeah.
I
that's-
mean,
wow.
you should know better.
I guess
It-
so.
All right. Well, 4 out of 5. That ain't bad. We got to announce our winner, and the winner is Triangler. Another, well, maybe something that you would use if you went fishing. Triangler _ out there for a Malian. Congratulations. You didn't get the $50 voucher. You only got the $15 voucher, but I hope you can use it, and I hope you can buy yourself something nice. All right. That's Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by TradeIt.gg. What?
Someone in chat just tagged the guy. He said, "Fuck you, triangler."
Why is it so hard, man? Everyone's just here, man, to have a go. All right, let's keep moving. Do we want to talk about some of the? I think we should probably talk about Eternal Fire. I don't know if we need to talk about ENTS. It was their first event, as you mentioned before, Striker, with Poddy and SDY. So I don't want to.
I didn't actually catch a lot of their games either. I watched like one of their games, so I'm not sure what to think.
I don't.
Is their
they got
season
kinda
over?
destroyed
No,
every
no,
game,
they're
though.
doing the. Are they also playing?
They're playing Unshipping.
Are they
Yeah.
not showing up on the thing?
Yeah, in the
No, they
same
are.
group as MIBR Alliance
Okay.
Complexity.
I guess
Yeah.
that's we can give them that event, and then we can make some make some conclusions.
And also
Their-
not
their
watch that because
downfall
it's at the
was-
same time as Blast.
Never mind. Just act as if we did.
Their downfall was Katowice at the start of this year. That's where it all went wrong for Ents, to be completely honest with you guys. All right. So was there an interview with Eternal Fire? Or am I dreaming?
Yeah. There are a couple of interviews.
Did they
Or-
put out a sentiment where they said something along the lines of we don't do well when we're favorites?
Kind of under something like that. Major said that they didn't. I don't think that they said that they don't do well. It's more like they didn't do well now that there's pressure on them. I don't think he necessarily meant it as an excuse. It was more like something like
it's
now
more
that
like
there's
we
pressure
should
on
have
us, we didn't-
performed now,
Yeah, exactly.
but we didn't, and he's just acknowledging like this was our chance. It's kind of like what we spoke about Astralis. It's kind of the same sentiment where it's like this was our time to shine. Kind of we earned our spot to be here, and we didn't take. We played like shit.
I do agree with that sentiment as well, because even when I was building my fantasy, I thought a lot of those matches were super 50-50 between the entire Group B, because it was like Fnatic, a complexity that just came over from Dallas, Eternal Fire. Was there? Who else was there? I'm actually forgetting half of the group now.
Bebe?
Yeah. Honestly, they should have
FURIA.
owned the shit out of that group. That's what I
was thinking as well. I thought if they're not going to win it, they're going to be second, third easily, and then they're going to do decently well in the playoffs because they've just been trending up. They won the CCT event online or not. They beat some really good teams. So I also thought that's their chance to go for another deep run, and yeah, they just shit the bed.
Might be the most disappointing result of the event.
Probably, yeah. Xantares was also, he was good in the games where it stopped mattering, really. We were just going through that. He was really terrible in the 2 Inferno losses that ended up costing them a chance to make it to the playoffs. So that's also kind of outside of the norm for them, because they usually do rely on Xantares to put up the numbers. So when they don't have him, it just seems they're kind of screwed.
Which is a shame, because Wakadia was meant to be the second coming, and it'd be good if we could. And I think
I'm still a bit on
is,
the fence for that, by the way. I've
with Wakadia,
yeah, because he's always been very up and down, and it's like he has one good game, one bad game. He's never seemed to find that consistency. And this event was another example of that.
Dude, he's been
started
in
out
the
well
main roster for over a year now.
Yeah,
he's only 19.
He's been there for a while.
Fuck.
I don't think that there's no future there or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm waiting for a bit more from him, because I know that people have been exactly hyping him up because of the good games he has, but he also has just as bad games to counterbalance that a lot of the time. So just lacking the consistency.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's probably the most disappointing result for me, because I thought they were on a good trajectory. I think this will set them back, at least as far as the general community consensus is concerned. That was a tough one.
Kind of unrelated, but related. I just got a DM on HLTV, and someone linked the thread and said, "Why is this deleted?" And it's a guy asking for us to add kebab image to HLTV logo on World Kebab Day, 12th of July, to celebrate this very special day and support Turkish fans of CS around the world. So today I learned that 12th of July
is Kebab Day.
Is kebab, and I googled it. And I was like, "Is this some kind of a joke? Is it a meme? Is it going to be like National Turkey Day?" But no, it is just Kebab Day that exists apparently.
Yeah, but
actually
there's
make more sense if it was
international
national.
days for everything, man.
Yeah,
I just brought up the list that
there are
United
months
Nations
for things
has.
now,
Yeah, well, but they're so crazy how many things there are. Like, what are we right now? Where are we? June.
What's today?
June 10th. June 10th is nothing. But 11th is International Day of Play.
Okay, what kind of play?
I don't know. Let me have a read.
There is also
June-
a different day for International Day of Masturbation. So
Play makes a better world. The first ever International Day of Play to be observed on the 11th of June. Oh, this is the
it's
first
the
one.
first ever.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Marks a significant milestone in efforts to preserve, promote, and prioritize playing so that all people, especially children, can reap the rewards and thrive to their full potential. Okay, well, if
I
people
can
want to
support
know
that
more
kind of a
about it-
day. I
Yeah.
support that day.
You know what follows International Day of Play?
What follows International Day of Play?
World Day Against Child Labor. That's the next day.
That is that's 2 days that children get in a row. Jesus.
But there's, I don't even know how to pronounce this word, but it's, I guess I'm going to link it.
Link
see if
it.
one of you guys
I'll
is brave
see- I'll
enough
see
to
if
try
I
and
know.
read it. There you go.
Albinism?
Yeah, that's the one. I wouldn't have done that. I don't know where I would have taken to trying to pronounce it. But
Either albinism
International
or albinism. I don't know.
Albinism Aware Day. Fucking hell, there is a day
Awareness
for
Day.
everything. World Blood Donor Day, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Elder abuse?
Awareness.
What?
That's the world. That's
No, I know you're not abusing your elders, but who's abusing their elders? What the fuck? All right, well, we're getting slightly off topic.
I mean, we can save that for later, the abusing elders, because we're going to talk about Taz on G2. So
okay.
keep it in the locker for now.
Yeah, all right. I wanna just let everybody know something before we get into the next. We're gonna be doing a bit of a review of the season so far. Prof got in the workshop, was doing up a Google slide. But before we get into that, I recently I listened to a podcast with a gentleman called Craig Jones. Now I want to let everybody know I'm not into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at all, but I just listen to like any podcast, I like listening to people talk. And apparently he's like an Australian Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think they call them players. I don't know, maybe that's wrong. But anyway, I started learning about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu drama, right? There's fucking popping off at the moment. So it's sick. Like I can't get enough of it. I'm loving it. And I learned that Motar 2K, the Motar 2K, is an organizer of one of the biggest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu events in the world, the ADCC.
No way.
Legitimately. And he's been doing it for years.
Is he under the same name still?
People know him as Motar 2K from the time, but it's his name is like Mo Yasim or something.
I don't remember.
But I learned this, and it kind of just blew my mind. So I wanted to
know that probably 90% of the listeners do not know who Motar 2K is.
Well, that's a shame. He donated 50 grand to Pasha one time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, how to even explain.
It's just
what
the
he
random
is.
guy was donating a bunch of money to some of these. Like at the time, the streamers who were kind of starting out only started to be popular. I think he donated to Flushta like 20K as well. Like some of these pros that he wanted to support, he just donated a whole bunch of money to.
But
I don't
anyway,
remember who
he's
else
on the
was there,
wrong
but-
side of this drama, apparently. Apparently, his
Okay.
organization is not paying the fighters enough. And that's why this Craig Jones individual has started up his own, and he booked it on the same weekend in the same city. It's in Las Vegas. And he's paying all the fighters who are just going to show up the same as what the fighters who win get at Motar 2K's event, plus $1. And then the grand prize is $1 million. So that's what I learned recently while
This
I
is
was
like,
I've gone down my rabbit hole.
Yeah, this is like Counter-Strike politics. Also
Yeah, kind
tournaments
of.
trying to push each other out of the thing.
Yeah,
offering
pretty wild.
offering better things to players and all that stuff. That's what we're getting into for 25, by the way.
Oh yes, yeah. The dick measuring competition of prize money and player conditions and everything like that. All right, let's jump in and let's. Do you have the link, Lucas, by any chance?
I had it.
I'm going
There it
to just put it. Thank you very much. So Lucas, we're going to go there and go to slide number 3, if you could, and we'll just go through them from 3 till 9. And we can just talk about some of the victors that we've had throughout the year. So one of the things we wanted to do right now, and I think I brought this up last week, was we right on this show, and I guess Counter-Strike as a whole, need to do a better job of framing the importance of events before they're about to happen or as they're happening, or what it means within the context of a season, or where we're at in the context of a year in the Counter-Strike world. And right now we're about to go into the tournament break in a week's time. That's going to be starting after Blast ends. Blast finishes on the 16th of June, and we're going to talk about that after this little bit. So the tournament break starts on the 17th of June, and it's going to run all the way up until EWC starts. So teams will be flying out for EWC, I think, on the 15th of July, I think. And that means that the tournament break will be ending on the 14th. Now, that entire time is obviously not just them not playing or anything. They're probably going to come back a week early and get some practices and everything like that. But
as you say, it's not a player break; it's a tournament break.
That's why I'm using tournament break. I stuck to that. But yeah, one of the key features of this year, which is different from the previous, is having the change of calendar regarding the second major of the year, which will then in future always be, as far as the foreseeable future goes, the majors will be the last events of the season. And that's also bringing up some of the changes we had in last week's episode. We're discussing open qualifiers and that we predict that there might not be any RMRs and the events will have to all have open qualifiers. And that's all going to factor into the rankings to qualify for majors. So we're in a pretty big period of time right now in terms of what's going to shift going into 2025. And where we are in 2024 is these partner teams need to be building teams that are going to be competitive at the tail end of this year to qualify for this major that'll then hopefully have the flow-on effects to help them qualify for future majors and events going into 2025. At least that's where I'm standing.
Yep.
So let's reflect on the start of the year. And the first one we have on the screen right now is IEM Katowice, which was a historic event, obviously, because of the performance of Donk and Spirit lifting the trophy and thinking at that point, oh shit, we might just have the best team in the world here and they could go on to dominate the first season, which hasn't ended up to really be the case by any means, has it?
I don't think anyone dominated the season, if we're completely clear. I don't think you can say that there's one team that is the best overall. I mean, we'll go through all of the big tournament victories and maybe we can kind of talk about that. But I don't think we have like a clear front runner. There's a lot of, distribution between the teams and like maybe some like interim number ones, but no like true number one in terms of, I mean, someone needs to be the best. I think someone is always the best, but there is no like clear champion, I would say, of this season.
Yeah, I think if we were to do like our top 10 teams of the year at this point and just go through the ranking and how the season went, I would, my best guess would be it would be FaZe just because of the amount of finals. They also had one title on top of that, so from that perspective, I think that's relatively obvious that they would be the number one, like as from how many points they got on the ranking throughout the season so far. But obviously it's only one win, it's only one tournament win. It's not the major as they were supposed to, but they do have a major runner-up. They have a couple more runner-ups from Katowice. So from that perspective, I think it's obvious that we do have the best team of the season, but it's not a dominant team of the season.
Well, I think something with looking at this event win in itself, obviously with FaZe as a runner-up, that adds to the stock because this is an S-tier event. You guys like what I did there?
This is for sure an S-tier event. There's no doubts about it.
And one of two in the first 6 months of the year, right? Because the other one is obviously the major. So I think for Spirit to win this was massive because of kind of the history that was made regarding individuals like your Zontics, more importantly your Donks, with that kind of insane performance. But then looking back with hindsight to see the way that things have kind of trickled forward, it hasn't gone maybe the way that we were expecting it to go at the time. But yeah, that is one of the biggest events. So you can't really take anything away from that, right? So you would have to put a lot of stock into that victory. And then I guess we can kind of flick through. Let's head to the next slide, Lucas, if we can. And this isn't in order by any stretch.
No, that's
fine.
We should do it in order, to be fair.
Let me fix this.
All right.
Let's go.
I was going to say,
this
this
is
doesn't
after
matter.
Pro League. This is after Pro League. Okay. So
I was going to be able to
go
jump
to the
around.
major. We can go to the major.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, Prof does that. We can.
I feel like someone fucked around with this. I'm gonna point a finger somewhere.
Okay.
You know what happens when you point a finger?
If four are facing back at you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Somebody pulls it.
Okay, so then we have the major, which is the NAVI victory, but FaZe in another grand final. Now this one is a curious one because it was the second major victory for NAVI. You had JL as the MVP, extremely unlikely. They won the event with their rifler who played star positions on the team, having pretty pedestrian statistics. It's fun storylines for the likes of Wonderful, Blade, Alexi for all different reasons. What do we make of this? Because as I mentioned, Katowice was an S-tier event. Well, this is an S-tier plus event, Prof. So
this is a gold MVP coin event.
Yeah, a gold MVP coin event. Yeah, okay. Well, with this major win, right, earlier on in the season, and what's happened for NAVI since, another one of these, what do we even do with this type of result, right? And their season has kind of just added to the stock, to the fluke stocks, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's also quite comparable to this Dallas win in that the individual performances across the board don't really add up to a win. Like if you look
Wasn't
at
it less than 50% of rounds won, right?
that
they-
also
when they-
that
yeah.
also like helps explain that, I guess, that they actually didn't win more than they lost to win to get this win, which just can happen in CS. It's not completely unheard of, but it was completely unheard of at the majors, I think, up until that point. So from that perspective, I think, and not meaning it in any sort of a bad way, just because, yeah, I don't think that there's it's fair to call a major win a fluke a lot of the time, because you had to do a lot of things right at that tournament to win the major.
They peaked.
Oh yeah,
That's it, isn't it? They
yeah, I
peaked
mean,
at that
that's-
event.
exactly. Yeah, as I said, a lot of things went right. Same way, a lot of things went right for G2 at IMDALS. That's, you know, in the same way might not go right again. But they did. You know, they were there to take that opportunity. I was going to make a point off of this, and I forgot what it was.
Sorry, Striker. My bad.
Yeah, that's all right.
I mean, it's it's realistically, no one expected Navi to win there.
Does
They
it
won.
join the likes of Gambit winning? Does it join the likes of, you know, is that what type of major win it is?
I think Gambit and even
There's another one.
Virtus Pro
Cloud9.
or Outsiders, whatever.
Cloud9
Cloud9 would have been another one. Yeah,
okay.
Those are the three main ones that people probably talk about when it comes
Yep.
to major flukes, right? Like if you compare it to Gambit, pretty much fell apart instantly right after that. Even before they had a chance to play anything else, Zeus left for back to Navi because they wanted to kick Kane. Boston, Cloud9 fell apart pretty much right after that without even playing anything else. Like for some reason, team just didn't get along already going into the major. They were supposed to break apart. Suddenly, you know, they just go on this crazy run. The only one that maybe
In VP also
kind of
did the
stands out.
Norbert change pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
So
No?
Chiron,
I think,
yeah.
well, it was like the next RMR, so that's still like half a year before they made any changes. And honestly, I mean, if you look at the trajectory of Navi, you can't say that they're not on the same, especially with what Blade was saying, like this next upcoming season is going to show whether we need changes or not, if this is the Navi that we should expect now after the major. Because, I mean, they made playoffs in Pro League, but it wasn't anything impressive. They got out of Dallas quite quickly with a loss that they, like one of those series that they probably shouldn't have lost to Heroic. So there's definitely a lot of proving that they have to do to themselves as well to see if they can replicate some of this. So yeah, I mean, of course, that's what people are gonna say until you get up to a decent result again. Unless they make a final, like in the next couple of tournaments, those voices are just gonna get louder.
I feel like their blast is going to be important, even though it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to downplay it, like Blade with the comments and everything, I don't really buy it, honestly. If they go to win the major and then they can't do anything else for the rest of the season, or the season before that, like they didn't do anything for the whole season practically except winning the major, I think it's obvious what the limits of the team are, and it's not winning the major. That's like everything clicked once in a lifetime situation that happened, and there's obvious players to upgrade. Let's just say that.
Yeah, sorry, I just went through my emails, and I have an email, and I'm not going to read the person that sent me the email, but I will read the contents of the email, because at no point they said you can't talk about this. And I also have no way to validate if any of this is even legitimately true. And why would you email me this if you didn't want me to talk about it?
Okay.
So it says, "Hey Chad, we can skip the bit where he's being nice to me. I'm friends with someone on M80 and just wanted to let you know some insight. G2 minus HooXi minus Nexa plus MOUZ. Don't know about the in-game leader though. Thought you might find it interesting. Buyout is 500k. Let me know if you have any questions."
For MOUZ?
That's just apparently that's just a random email that I got. Like, so from like that could anybody could go to my Twitter and find my business email and send me that email.
How do we rate this rumor? I rate this like 2 out of 8, mate.
Shit. I don't know. I just
Was
thought
it minus
I thought I'd
HooXi
share
minus
that
Nexa
with the
plus
class.
MOUZ? That's it?
Yeah,
That's all it said. Yeah, and
That's
then
it?
it mentioned
Okay.
money.
No in-game leader to come in. Oh, it's Nico. I forgot.
There you go. Nico's in-game leading now. Oh my god. Okay.
What do we think? Okay, this rumor kind of aside. What if there's fuck it. We're gonna talk about the situation
Let's
later.
talk about
I'm not gonna get into it.
Okay. All right. Let's jump to the next slide. Oh, someone asked a good question. What does it say about FaZe? That we can do it in the next one. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, go to the next slide. So FaZe winning Chengdu and beating up their little brothers of MOUZ. Brokey being the MVP, but there was
the 10th time that year.
And look at Neo's arms. But other than Neo's guns, I think we need to talk about the question that somebody posed in chat just moments ago, and they asked the question, well, what does FaZe coming second all these times mean for their season? Obviously, they won this event, but what, like, if you rarely the bride, more often the bridesmaid. What does that say about it? Shows that FaZe are always consistent. Even actually, well, it's tapered off in the last couple of events, hasn't it?
Well, it's still quarterfinals in the last couple of events. It's not like it's been bad in the Pro League. It's more the Dallas one that really sticks out, just because in Pro League they lost to a Zywoo who was just fucking destroying. In Dallas, it was Mortisy was fucking destroying, but it was also a team that they probably shouldn't have lost to otherwise. With Vitality, at least they've been going kind of back and forth, and there's some legitimacy to that result. So I wouldn't say that their tapering off is that significant. Obviously, they were already on a massive high leading up to that, and
losing
that
the
was
major would drain you a lot.
I think that's probably the one that took a lot of wind out of their sail. I mean, Katowice as well, especially the way that they lose these tournaments has to take a massive toll on you. I mean, even the Dallas one, you just get absolutely obliterated by a G2 playing with a stand, and that's going to take something out of your mental. And I mean, they've already talked about it as well, that they're just not, they're not treating each other the same way. They're not having as much fun in like their practice rooms and stuff like that. And I mean, if you lose enough events like this, it's going to happen that maybe the vibes aren't going to be the best, because you're just losing events where you're just going to get 0-3'd by a Spirit, lot decider, crazy like against Navi, and then what happened in Dallas against G2. So those are some tough losses to take all the way at the end of the tournament, or at least close to it.
Season, yeah.
Where it's just you're close to getting another title, and this is what stands in your way. You weren't even close to it. That's got to be tough.
The cool thing about this
go ahead.
The cool thing about this conversation we're having right now is it puts really good framing for the last event of the year.
Oh yeah,
right, which we're going to talk about soon, which MOUZ won't be at. Who are the runners up here? Sorry, Prof, what were you going to say?
I mean, when you look at FaZe, what name comes to you thinking like who is not performing this season?
I don't think it's like, okay, who's not
that part's up.
performing?
I think that one's obvious.
Okay, who is it?
ropz.
Yeah. I mean, considering his level, right?
Yeah.
Because obvious, I don't want to be like a stats reader, but I am, so fuck it, I'll just do it. In Chengdu, he was pretty good, 114, but that was also like a tournament where Brokey really did amazing, and he was in one of those Brokey tournaments where he just does whatever he wants and it works. But ropz, the tournaments where they should have done better, so the major 105 rating, Pro League 109, Dallas 106, right? For ropz' standards, pretty underwhelming. Katowice 111 was pretty nice, and that's kind of his average for this year. But it's mostly like put up with some of the RMRs and some of the smaller tournaments, right? So it is an interesting thing to like keep in mind, because especially considering early on in CS2, ropz was like, we even did that article, like that ropz Apex
the best player in the
Apex
world.
didn't really like, but like after two tournaments, ropz is the best player in CS2 right now. And he was right at the time. So since then, after the kind of the initial transition, he has not been, I feel, super comfortable or super happy or super in his zone, which is definitely taking away some of the potency from FaZe. He is, I mean, the reason why they can't play the way they play, which is like a lot of defaulting, a lot of just relying on the individuals, is because the individuals are sick. And then one you could say maybe even the biggest star on the team is not performing to his standard level, that's automatically going to kind of limit the potential of the lineup.
I do think that Brokey has stepped up compared to last season or last year at the same time, because I mean, at this point, he's kind of on course to be like a top 5 player of the year. ropz was number 3 last year, obviously quite very far from that at this point, because he doesn't even have any VPs at the moment, and we're basically at the end of the first half of the season, which is kind of crazy to think about, that he still hasn't gotten any awards.
Has no EVPs.
He has 0 EVPs for the year.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So he has a lot of like strong VPs where he's just on the edge of that. For the couple of those events where they went far, he did well. I think Katowice is one of them. Majors, I don't know about the major actually. I don't remember exactly which events, but a bunch of these events where they went far, he was just a strong VP, but never really got over that hump just because his consistency is definitely faltered. He's also not as good in big matches, which was his big plus in the last year's top 20, where that's kind of what made him top 3 over Modesty that was at the time, right? Yeah. So that's also something that's faltered. He hasn't been having so many big games. So I don't know what that's down to exactly, because it doesn't seem like, I mean, none of his positions have changed. Maybe just slightly with Frozen coming in, things are a little bit different here and there. That's actually something that possibly we can point to, just because Twist was the guy who was supporting him the previous year, and obviously it was working out very well for him at the beginning of CS2. Is that the only reason why he's suddenly not performing as well? Is Frozen either not doing as good of a job of supporting him, or is their dynamic just different compared to...
There's been some changes in positions though,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like Rain plays A with ropz now.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the things is like, I don't know how to quantify it, and I can't, like I wasn't in the server, but you could look at ways that Twists would do things with ropz or for ropz. I'm not saying that other players aren't. I just don't notice it as much as I did when I was watching.
But they did share a lot. Twists and ropz used to share a lot of positions, CT side especially.
Yes, but that's where I think you're going to get your best out of ropz, right? I don't think you're going to get your best out of ropz on the T side. I think you get the 3 players. I think we spoke about this like to ad nauseum, right? You just want to get Frozen, ropz, and Brokey in the mid round so they can close out those rounds. But on the CT side, I think is where you expect more from a player like ropz, right, to be able to lock down a lot of situations. But also ropz in certain positions. I remember a couple of years ago, I was looking at who like the best apps CT players were on Inferno. And at the time, it was ropz, Shush, and JKS. And Shush was really passive. And then ropz was actually the most active, which you wouldn't really think of like a player like ropz, right? He was the most active in the halls and the boiler room position, always taking a lot of fights, but he'd be set up with boosts. Like they did the one way when you had the old smoke, or they'd do the double crisscross nades in mid, or he would do a lot of these pushes. And then JKS was the most in between. Like, he would go aggressive some rounds, passive in other rounds. He would have the most variety in that regard. But I think, like, I don't know with the change in team if there's just more individual onus at the moment, right? While things are being settled in. But I imagine this team talk that Carrigan discussed is going to have some big ramifications in how they approach going forward, right?
The 2-hour debrief, or what is
Yeah, I think that's going to have some really positive things, right? Just to get out like all the dirty laundry essentially, and let everybody know how you're feeling about certain things. It's a good way to also, it's the first time in 2 years, which means they've obviously done a very good job of managing that up until this point. But things can build. Things can definitely build over time.
I mean, especially as I said, if losses like that, they do take a massive mental toll, and that's always going to cause some friction. And that's a lot of the time that's for the better as well. Like, people do need to figure out what the problems are for them to get better, to improve relationships or dynamic inside the game, whatever it is. You have to talk through problems, otherwise you will never be able to fix them. So I think we will get into Blast a little bit later, but I think if we see some changes in terms of positions at Blast, that's probably the result of those talks, where maybe ropz is feeling like he would work better with Frozen in certain positions, or whatever it is, that they might come to a result that will probably tell us a lot already.
All right, let's start zooming through. We still got a couple of these to get through here. The next ones, I guess we can go a bit more swiftly through because it's back-to-back MOUZ trophies, Lucas. So let's go like 6 and 7. ESL Pro League for MOUZ beating Vitality, but they dominated. I think that's one of the keys here. I was still getting the MVP. And then BetBoom, they also dominated and these are both best of 5 finals against Spirit with Donk as the MVP. So MOUZ in these events, I think some of the key factors for me, which stood out, and we can actually talk about these guys with it being the end of their season, because after they decided not to practice for Dallas, that was the end of their season. And that's probably the worst thing they did all season, was not practice for Dallas, because the team was playing mega confident Counter-Strike. Even I got to the point where things looked like they were so ironed out with this addition of Brolin that Shui was able to play really good individual CS himself and make sure he could contribute. Everybody was happy to fight, taking a lot of duels. A lot of these tournaments I was at where I could stand and I could listen. Pro League would be one especially. Lots of ideas. You can hear like Torji calling his picks a lot of the time. I think that's something we've discussed with this team for a very extended period of time is how mature they are in terms of how they hold themselves and the way they talk about Counter-Strike. But the biggest problem for MOUZ and the biggest bit of condemnation, even with the Chengdu final against FaZe, is the fact that it's like these big stage events is where we would have loved to have seen them lift a trophy like this going now into next season, where they won't have another opportunity until Cologne. And that's an event where they could have potentially been in conversation of content. They're currently the #1 team in the world, but without them getting a victory on a bigger stage event, it's hard for me to back them in as one of the favorites in that sense. I'll always have that little issue kind of hovering over the head with MOUZ. Sure. Yeah, but I think that they had a very good season of CS, and this Brolin pickup has worked better than I thought it would. It's worked out great.
Yeah, for sure. I'd imagine we will hear a bit more about that soon enough. But I don't think there's going to be anything standing in the way of Brolin actually making the move, or like permanently actually being able to get a contract with MOUZ. So I would imagine, during the season, I would be surprised if we didn't hear more about that.
I'm just about the break. It was kind of, it was telling because there was an interview with Brolin at BetBoom, if I remember correctly, where he was like, the amount of travel and tournaments that they're playing is getting a bit, it's taking a toll. And then they won BetBoom, and after that took the little like few days off, didn't practice until Dallas, and then came kind of rusty. Not saying it's a good idea, but there were some signs that things were boiling right under the surface, and I guess they just wanted to protect the players and avoid like burnout. But it is kind of underwhelming in the story of this team and the season that they didn't really do anything in Dallas, like literally.
Especially when that was supposed to be the last event. They're not even playing out the entire season because there's like 2 events right after that. They're still tier 1 that they're not playing.
Mentality, we call that.
The what?
Bitch made mentality.
Oh, bitch made? I've never heard that before.
I think the kids are saying it. I just thought I'd bring it in. I don't know if the kids are saying it or not, but
I feel very old right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
talking about the kids.
Bad decision.
Talking about the kids, I saw you chat at some point in Dallas, and you rocked up to the bar with a skateboard on your back.
Oh yeah, not my skateboard.
It was such a hello fellow kids moment. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that wasn't my skateboard. That was Ben, Audio Jesus, we call him. That was his skateboard. Okay. That's how he
also, I have to tell a story. I don't know if it's going to be as funny as it was when I saw it in real life, but it was also in Dallas, obviously, the bar, hotel, it's very crowded. Everyone's coming in, a lot of players, a lot of other people. And at some point, next to me, there's like 2 people standing, a girl and a man.
Wow.
And
a girl,
woman even.
Holy shit.
I think so. I don't know. Anyway, Floppy is walking towards this person. This person is like turned back. So Floppy's coming back from the back.
Okay.
And Floppy taps the person on the right shoulder, but walks on the left side.
The classic.
But he walks past and just continues walking. He doesn't stop. So this person turns around, is like, and does it doesn't like stop, does a full 360, does that, turns back around. Floppy's already out of the room, like out, he's gone. And this person's like, who the fuck tapped me? It's impossible, doesn't know who it was. Probably doesn't know till this day who tapped the shoulder. And Floppy just like casually strolled by. It was one of the funniest things.
Okay.
One of the funniest things I've seen in my life.
Did Floppy know the
guy? I don't know. I would presume so.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, and no one except me saw this. I was like in the middle of a conversation, just saw this. No one else paid attention to this like genius interaction that just happened. The smoothness, like smooth criminal.
Okay. Well,
that's it.
Floppy, shout out to you, I guess, mate. Smooth moves, just dipping and diving. All right. Well, I don't know where we go from there.
Floppy is so cool, so people like the story. That's it.
All right. Into slide 8. And then
Nice.
once we get slide 8 on the screen, this one, fuck the haters. This one is more condemnation for Vitality than something to celebrate for G2, but we'll celebrate it nonetheless. So Vitality don't have a trophy this season.
Yeah, couple.
And they've had 2
runners-up.
opportunities, 2 finals, and they don't have a trophy yet. And this is their best bet. The MOUZ final, they got blown out of the water, but that was against a full roster. This was an opportunity against a team with a stand-in. I understand the scenario regarding the crowd, et cetera, but still it should have been their trophy to win. So this, for me, this event is more about the MONOSY MVP, which also will be a factor in our discussion about Blast coming up in a moment, but more so condemnation for Vitality not lifting that trophy when they had that opportunity, and it might come back to haunt them with the close of the season just around the corner. So that's my takeaway from Dallas. And should we just jump into the last one, then we can talk about Blast?
Yep.
And the one that we just did, YaLLa Compass, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to see either of these 2 teams at Blast. So done. All right, great. Now that's the season in review, everybody. Now we're going to jump forward and we're going to start talking about Blast. Oh, no, wait, we're going to do what are the odds? What are the odds now?
We can do that when we talk about G2. It's G2-1, so we can do that.
All right. Well, let's start with that. Let's start with G2 because obviously the news that came out today, and we saw this probably a week ago, maybe a little bit more than a week ago, that MONOSY would unlikely would not be with the team in London. Now let's call a spade a spade. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. MONOSY is Russian. He is going to the UK. I imagine that's probably where we had some complications regarding the visa. So they are going to be using their coach this time, Taz, to stand in, and they will not be using SPUNJ. To the community's dismay, I can't believe they didn't get smooya. Why didn't they get smooya? They could have won with
smooya just signed for a team. Like, it would make sense. It would make sense.
You also have to consider roster locks. They probably didn't expect this by the time that they could have added somebody else to the team.
For? Who gives a fuck about roster locks?
Tell that to ESL and all the tournament organizers, man. I absolutely agree with you, but that's how today's world works in Counter-Strike. You don't get to make any changes regardless of what happens to your team.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, I agree.
There's also the emergency stuff.
But nobody really considers an emergency because you're also putting in your coach as your actual stand-in, because that's just how it works. As long as you have a coach, you apparently also have a stand-in, even though that's absolutely not the same thing.
They just need to break Taz's leg or something, and then they can get a emergency.
I don't know under what circumstances they would actually be able to make a change, because I don't know who else they submitted. Actually, I didn't see the lineups for Blast. If there's somebody else for that, it's I would have to see the lineups for Blast. But yeah, I hate this as well, because you could actually get somebody decent and not have to play with your coach.
Like SPUNJ.
No, let's just say.
What do you mean? They won an event with him, Prof.
Let's just say, there'll be a portion of people are going to be like, oh, but they did it with Stewie in Dallas, but they had MONOSY, and now that they don't have MONOSY, this is going to be so trash. This is going to be so bad.
My curiosity is obviously how they saw this situation, because there's a number of ways they can go about it. And I was thinking about what is the most likely. And I actually don't know if you've seen the Stown solution. I actually like that a lot, except for one small detail, which is that Nico would be in-game leading. So Stown's solution, he tweeted something,
I did see
it was yesterday,
yes.
2 days ago, I remember. He was actually, props to him, he was actually the first one who said it outright that MONOSY was not going to make it. Even MONOSY was very, very vague about it. Stown's solution was HooXi takes it up, Taz goes into HooXi's positions, Nico stays in star roles, but IGLs as well. So outside of that IGL thing, I actually do think that this would make the most sense for G2 if Taz just picks up HooXi positions and HooXi just takes over, MONOSY's position, takes up the op whenever he's needed. Obviously, I don't expect MONOSY to HooXi to just suddenly 100% op and just prioritize every round and all that stuff. But I do think that in certain T rounds, that probably makes the most sense for him to pick it up, just because it's the path of least resistance and the path to utilizing Taz in the most effective way. Because you can't put Taz as an opper. That's pretty obvious. He's never been an upper. He's never done that before. And obviously, we don't expect his output to be any better than HooXi's. If anything, probably a lot worse, considering he hasn't been playing. And his output by the time he retired was worse than that, and against worse teams.
His last game was over a year ago, and like March 2023. And
That's not that long ago.
for 2023, he averaged a 0.83 rating. So, and playing against like tier 3 teams on average. So, him
Not
plus
expecting a lot.
HooXi plus like Nexa's form, God bless us. If Nexa plays like he played in Dallas, is going to be awful. I kind of do want to do what we did before Dallas, but this time it makes even more sense. Like, they're going to get fucking blown out. It's not going to be fun to watch at all, especially because the teams in their group are Vitality, Virtus Pro, and Spirit. Like, there's no...
And Spirit is first too. If it's like VP first, I could imagine them just kind of sneaking out of at least a map win or something, but
they're like completely outmatched here. So it's kind of sad, honestly, that this is how G2's season ends. Like, this weird stewy win, and then they can't even build on it at all. It's actually pretty frustrating from a pundit and viewer.
You guys are
point
just
of
the
view.
ugly haters, man. The G2 are going to win the whole event. Taz is going to be dropping 40 every game. He's going to be doing it all. Nico's going to have godlike numbers. Next is going to be clutching. HooXi, he's gagging to get back in the server after the whole Stewie thing. That's extra motivation for him. Hunter's impact is going to be off the chain. They're going to win the whole event, guys. They're going to win the whole event.
I actually do think that, like, as much as obviously their output is very likely to be terrible, I'm curious what kind of an effect it's going to have on Nico and Hunter, because I assume that they will have probably a bit more agency without MOUZ on the map. That could also mean a bad thing, because they're also not going to have the support of MOUZ, even though he's not necessarily that kind of an opera a lot of the time. But I am curious how they're going to work on T side, because it's obvious that they will have to do more, a lot more, and Nexa will have to do a lot more for them to even begin to try to make up for the massive difference that is minus MOUZ plus Taz. It's like a player's worth of difference, effectively. Like top 20 players worth of difference.
Yeah, it's more than one player's worth of difference.
Yeah,
honestly,
especially with the form that MOUZ is in now, where people are starting to call him the best player in the world. So it's obviously super hard to see them winning even one map against either of these teams.
I have a great
comment
from Bobo Binsky.
Good name.
He says, Taz will destroy VP like it's 2017 all over again.
Wow. Okay.
That's a banger.
Hopefully he rocks up in a BMW.
That's a banger.
Yeah, look, what's the point? Didn't Dallas teach us anything, gentlemen? What's the point of giving a legitimate opinion? That's pointless.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, honestly, I think it makes sense, because then we, by saying something is very unlikely to happen, we create the narrative, and when it ends up happening, then it's so much more exciting.
You want to be in the when such and such plays Counter-Strike clip.
Yeah, why did no one make that for? I was just thinking about that today. Why did no one make that for that compilation for G2 and Dallas?
But they did twice. Super Stadium did it. Vital did it.
No, but they didn't do that.
It's too good. Maybe people are too young these days, Prof. They've forgotten about it.
This is the CSGO Lounge era.
Okay, I thought you meant yeah, I got it.
Yeah, but look, I couldn't imagine how I just wake me up from this dream. I don't.
Do you see them winning a map against VP?
No.
Do you see them squeaking out a map win?
No, I don't
want to hate on this at all. Like, I just want to paint this in the proper picture, because if they do something,
bro, they're gonna have Nexa, HooXi, and Taz.
That's exactly my point.
If they do
if they do something, he's a doo-doo. Oh my god, are you 10?
They're gonna have HooXi, Nexa, and Taz.
But that's my point with those three. And by the way, I don't think Nexa is going to be as bad as in Dallas, because he has never been that bad. He's not even, like, all the time since he's joined G2 again, he's never had as bad of a tournament as that. So I do expect Nexa to be better than a HooXi. So I don't expect 3 HooXis to be on this team all of a sudden. Like there were 2 in Dallas.
But Taz is going to be worse than HooXi.
That is a fair point.
He will be worse than
That's
HooXi.
That is a fair
debatable.
point. I don't think
No.
that's debatable.
He will be worse than HooXi.
We haven't seen HooXi play. HooXi's
Wait,
been at a wedding.
Fuck it. I have a new what are the odds? We're going to change it live.
Okay.
Lower rating, HooXi or
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 Taz.
Taz.
yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my
I think
God,
that's
this
too
is
much.
exciting.
Oh no.
No, this is exciting. Let's do it. We got to change it. We got to change it.
Yeah,
that's
I'll
so
just
good.
write the
We
thing
can change
full. But I have to give props to Striker for like the amount of you're really giving this.
He's giving it a
all.
runway. Yeah.
You're really like thinking this through. This is like the depths of if we had that 24/7 sports channels like the US has, and it's on every TV and every restaurant all the time.
Yeah.
Just people
Yeah,
talking about sports, then
Right.
you'd have to have like a 2-hour conversation about G2 going into this.
Yeah.
Then this is kind of the route we'd have to go. But usually we don't, because like realistically it's not going to happen. And you're like, oh yeah, don't even like try to, but you're like, yeah, this position, swap this around. I'm
You know,
really like, I'm not making fun of you. This is like, I'm
I
really,
got it. You're impressed, but the point is, I'm actually writing something about that. So I've already thought this through.
No.
I've already thought this through. I'm doing like storylines for Dallas. So I've thought enough of it through that I actually have a decent idea of how I think it will go. But I mean, honestly, but do you guys think there's any world where Nico actually picks up the op?
Why not? Who cares?
No, but
the
I think they're
thing is,
just gonna
like, the thing is, again,
No,
and
if
I
you
went
want to
on
take
this
it seriously,
before,
I'm just saying, like, if you actually want to take the event
if
seriously,
we want to take it seriously, if any team loses to G2, considering the roster they have, what the fuck are they doing?
yes,
They should disband.
yes,
They should
100%,
disband.
100%. I agree with you.
Like,
But I'm just saying,
how?
like, that's how we have to paint it now, because it is fucking impossible. It is impossible for them to win a series. I could see them taking a map of VP because Nico goes fucking crazy. He gets them so many openings that VP will just save 10 rounds in a row and they'll win a map off of it. I absolutely 100% see that happening as a theoretical possibility. But
just gonna
all I can see right now is Striker dressed up like Stephen A. Smith, and he's been sent in a fucking bullshit thing, and he's doing the Mewtwo segment where it's Mewtwo versus LeBron James, and it's Striker getting this, and it's like, well, if Taz stands in for these guys against Spirit, and we're like, are we actually considering? Is this a reality that I'm living in right now? What are we doing?
But you have to think about
You
how
don't.
exciting the narrative is if like Nico just goes and picks up the op. Just imagine he goes from normal rifler to what he's been doing the last 2 years, to in-game leader, wins the event, to opera, and does something, whatever it is that they will do something, you know? I just think it's funny. I just think it's an
It
amazing
is funny.
storyline.
It's
It is an amazing
hilarious.
storyline. I'm not saying it will go anywhere. I don't think it will be any successful. I absolutely agree with the two of you guys. I just think it's an interesting point to converse on.
I just want to point out that I am on the record saying they'll win the whole event. So, you know, I've got all
You're
my
also on the
bases covered.
you're also on the record saying if somebody loses them, what the fuck are they doing? They should disband. So
I didn't say the
there's-
disband part.
Okay,
I
fair
will
enough.
say I didn't
was a
say
plan.
the
Yeah,
disband.
it
it's
was a
just the
plan,
what the fuck are they doing? So that's
Yeah, what the
that's
fuck are
enough.
they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
let's bring what are the odds? Let's
I
bring
still
what are the
haven't
odds.
gotten my answer. Does anybody actually think Nico will pick up the op?
I think anybody will pick up the
I
fucking
think they'll.
order.
I think they'll throw it
think-
around. I
Okay.
think they'll throw it around for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, I think Hunter will up a bit. Nexel will. I think Taz will not up.
I mean, CT side, I think they will just throw it around. But I'm just saying T side, like the only reasonable way I see it is HooXi.
It depends on the maps they play. They don't need it unless
I
they're
mean,
playing
yeah.
like a Dust 2 or some shit, right? Like you don't need it on all of the maps necessarily. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm more excited if we get any Vertigo. Anyway, let's fucking talk about what are these odds brought to you by 1xBet. Okay,
Last
so
minute change. Let's go.
What are these fucking odds? What are the fucking odds on this? Actually, it should have been Taz. Doesn't matter. It's just gonna be low odds, I guess.
okay,
Um,
that HooXi will have a lower rating than Taz, or that Taz will have a higher rating than Hook.
Well, yeah, let's just leave it as it is right
Okay,
now. But this
that
is
HooXi will have a lower rating than Taz.
yes.
So over the entire event,
Of
his
last
rating
spring finals.
will he
I will
have?
say, I will give it 10%.
10%.
10%.
Holy shit! You have no faith
like-
in winning the whole event, do you?
No, but it doesn't even matter. Like if
To be honest,
Like,
if
what
they
does it
win
matter?
the event, HooXi would probably he's supposed to play better than Taz, I
The
think.
thing is, because of what I expect, because I expect Taz will just play massive bait. He will throw guns around. He will just do everything possible to be useful, and it's not going to be through fragging.
You've got to shoot, bro.
He will do so much. Of course, he has to shoot, but he will not have guns half of the time because he will throw them away. That's what I expect that to happen. And
Taz has more respect in himself,
and
than
he
that.
will run in, and he will run in first because he knows that's the best way that he will actually have some impact. Because there will be people trading him, stuff like that. I just think he will do so much sacrificing that there's no fucking way. There's like so little possibility that HooXi will be worse than that.
I'm gonna go Chad. You go next.
I'm gonna say 50%.
What the?
He either will or he won't.
What was the last one, by the way? You guys, what was the last one? I was just like fucking
about Astralis.
From Dallas. That they will
win a trophy this year.
No, but that one was fine.
Well, they haven't yet.
Oh, Dallas
but
was
in Dallas
Stewie getting signed for a team.
Ah, yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a good 15%.
15.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think
you guys are insane.
I think
how do you think?
Because anything's possible.
Tazu hasn't played an official match even against tier 1 in like 3 years.
But that's why we're like trying to gauge how possible it is. This is the point of this exercise.
Yeah, there's a possibility, of course. They could just get slammed 13-0, 13-0, and neither of them will do anything, but Taz will just get traded. I don't know, some trades. He will get some trades. He will get
winning a couple
2
clutches.
pistol kills or something. I don't know.
There'll be a few clutches.
He's not gonna get trades. He's gonna get traded deaths by Nico.
Yeah.
And HooXi is gonna be like throwing flashes, so it's not gonna count for anything.
Right.
Do we want to ask the people at home what they think?
We got a.
Oh, we have to.
We got a result, and it says 68%. So it's like 32%.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's kind of high, to be honest. So it's kind of similar to us, right? Like overall.
Yeah. So it's 27%.
Bloody hell. Well, people at home, you've got a tough choice on your hands with this one. Does that all make sense? Is it all worked out in the wash?
Yeah, all good.
Yes, he will have a lower rating. No, he won't. Okay. All right, cool. So, essentially this little segment, which is called What Are the Odds? Brought to you by 1xBet. You guys get to have a vote at home. Is it on Instagram or Twitter or both?
Both.
And then what you guys essentially vote for, it creates a bit of a kitty, and we're going to work out what we're going to do with that at the end of the year. But
you should explain what that word means because I have no idea.
Oh.
Kitty is like a cat, no?
Well, yeah, but...
I've never heard that expression in that way before, so you have to explain it. I understand what it means because I know what it means, but
that's a great question. I don't know why we use that. I have to look at it now.
But it's like a pool, like it's whatever it's called. Yeah,
an amount of money that is made up of small amounts given by different people, used by them for an agreed purpose. We all put $20 into the kitty to cover the cost of food.
Okay.
I've never. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I watched.
Oh my god.
What did I watch? I went and watched the new Mad Max movie, which was fucking terrible, by the way. Do not waste your time.
Furiosa.
Fucking woeful movie.
Even with Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, it's bad.
Terrible.
How is Chris Hemsworth as a villain? That's what I want to know.
I don't know what they did to his nose. The whole movie was bad.
The first one was banger.
Yes, this one was not good. I would not recommend this one. I didn't enjoy it. But the thing I enjoyed most was the language that they were using, and obviously almost all the actors cast in the movie are Australian, and they're using a lot of Australian slang, so that was really good. Furiosa was amazing. What did you watch it? Were you blind and drunk when you were watching it? What the fuck?
I mean, it's supposed to be kind of a shitty movie where it's just like it doesn't make sense. But it's just a lot of action.
The action was like we'd already seen it. It was worse than the original. Okay. So
yeah, that's what I heard.
Original meaning Fury Road or the one even before that?
Fury Road.
Fury Road is like the second, third one. I don't remember.
Yeah,
fourth. No, there were three Mad Maxes, like the original ones with.
Mate, there is no way there are people in chat who actually think that was a good movie. It was putting me to fucking sleep. There are people in chat who think that was a good movie. What is wrong with you guys? You guys are fucking insane. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Blast Spring Finals. Okay, so I guess we want to look at the event as a little bit more of a whole. Who do you guys have as your favorite?
It's a pretty tough one, actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's between the 3 Vitality Spirit phase.
Yep.
I want to start saying I think Vitality, even though they lost, I think they kind of got some plus credit from me for some reason. I think the Mezzi uptick, even though it was crazy overperformance, like that ace, like shit like that's not going to happen consistently. But I think it's a good sign from their weakest player. So I think that's a nice thing. Overall, I think they have really good consistency. So I think they are going to make a deep run, definitely have a chance. But I don't know if I can give it to them as favorites, considering they didn't win anything yet. On the other hand, they did fucking own Spirit in a way, which is huge props. I think that win is what gives me gives me some hope for them and in Blast, essentially.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in that same boat in terms of I would put FaZe third in that conversation at this point, just because of the tendency of the last couple of events. The way that they've lost these elimination games, that's really rough. I do think that there's going to be some changes that are going to be hard to predict for us. But just based on the trend at the moment, I would put FaZe third in that conversation. But I would put Spirit above Vitality, and that's mainly for the reason that Dong just disappeared in that Vitality series, and I don't think that's going to happen for the second time. And, when you don't have your biggest star turning up against Vitality, you are likely going to lose. But he hasn't had so many disappearances for me to believe that that's just going to happen again, or that Vitality has figured out some way to counter him. I don't think that's necessarily the case. People have been trying for a while, and they didn't really find a consistent answer to Donk. So I think it was kind of an off event for him, and that's kind of ridiculous to say considering he ended it on like 120 or something anyway. He had a bad series there that cost them a possibility of a win. I don't think that's going to happen again.
I still think that the map pool not being settled is a big question mark.
There's been a lot more time though.
But
has it?
Would you say that Vitality kind of, I don't want to say that they own Dust 2, but I think they showed enough on Dust 2 in terms of proficiency and wanting to play it that they're their map pool makes sense.
Well, the first time I saw them play Dust 2, they played it a lot of times in Dallas. I think, look, the problem is, at the moment, because there is certain tape on some teams and there's not on others, and it should seem like quite a simple map to understand, okay, well, these are the protocols, this is the basic way you play, and there's so much more information available out there now in terms of all the nades and stuff being uploaded by all these different websites all the time. It's still these situations that these teams need to find themselves in and play through. So if they're able to put themselves in a position where teams are uncomfortable, like Spirit defending against mid to B splits, right? They had a tough time with that when they were playing Dust 2. If you're able to put Vitality in positions like that where they can't find a solution, or they don't, then they could very well lose it. It's just about, our teams able to find that, and what would those situations look like? And then also this whole Vertigo scenario, our team's going to be, I'm just trying to look at that right now in terms of the brackets that we have. Is anybody even going to be looking to pick into Vertigo? I'm not too certain about that.
No.
Navi, no, they're going to ban it, right?
Yeah.
FaZe will probably remove it. I don't think that would even come into a conversation against.
I saw against.
I think they play
Vertigo. Saw plays Vertigo a lot. Even it's their second most played map.
But that's why if you're FaZe, you're probably removing.
You probably ban it first.
Yeah,
and then just risk a Dust 2, where Saw haven't been that great either. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm trying to even work out how much Vertigo will play into the equation. Which, if Vertigo's not playing into the equation, then maybe Dust 2 will. In certain matches. So maybe Astralis versus Saw, if both of those teams lose their opening games, which I think is the opposite of what we're expecting with Navi versus Astralis as that opening game. But if Astralis plays Saw at any point, then maybe you do see Vertigo coming there. Virtus Pro have been pretty miss on Vertigo in recent history, but it's still within their map pool, right? They're a team who bans Nuke. We know that Vitality get rid of Ancient. So would it be something that Virtus Pro need to lean towards to try and unravel
It's their
a team?
most played map. It's not that they've been very successful on it, but it is.
But I felt like a lot of teams were picking Vertigo against them.
Yeah.
because they were showing some weakness on that map. I don't know where else you would want to take the veto, and you know that you've had Vitality for some time, so you could prep for this well in advance if you are VP. So I'm just that's the bigger conversation overall for me, because the meta is going through a shift right now with the changes late within the season. So we're in the runway now going into the next major. And there's even conversations that some people think there's going to be an update because Counter-Strike has more fucking birthdays than anybody I've ever known. Apparently, it's got another anniversary of some variety coming up later this month. I'm like, what the fuck, mate? This Counter, and it's always different. It's like, oh, it's 20 this year, or it's 19 this year. Now it's 25. I'm like, what the fuck? What's the actual date that Counter-Strike came out?
That depends on which version, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's another, like, there has to be one actual. We got to get it from Valve. We need like an official date of some variety, or we could just celebrate it all the time. Why not?
Maybe we should put it in the calendar, of the yearly days that celebrate them after, straight after Kebab Day can be Counter-Strike Day.
Yeah, okay, that's not bad at all. Yeah, bring up one of those. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions in that regard for me. But I think going into this, the teams which I would say are in the wow, it's hard to say Spirit are in the best form, isn't it? Because they did disappoint in their matchup. They felt like they got blown out.
I mean, they got blown out by
Mirage back, but
by MOUZ in Bedpun Dacha, and they're like, "Oh, this is our first tournament coming back." Blah blah. Okay, we'll give you a pass there. And then they came to Dallas, great group stage, destroyed FaZe, but then got this kind of destroyed by Vitality, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely kind of question mark about their form, and I think it's a huge event for all three of these teams. Like any of them could kind of make a claim. I don't think really Vitality can like be we're the best team of the season, but they can definitely elevate
the season with the
elevate their status significantly by winning, because overall it's a pretty I don't want to say stacked, but it's a competitive tournament for sure. Like the top end is pretty competitive.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it weren't for G2 having a stand-in, it would have been 2 through to 7 and a 9th best, So it's just MOUZ basically missing from the absolute elite and from the title contenders. So relatively stacked.
Well, if we went through all of these, right, for FaZe, it would be a nice way to finish the year after disappointing last 2 events, right? Because that's it
would be a nice way to finish the year for anybody, man.
Sorry, finish the season, right? But after all of those finals, after all the finals that they made, and then having the bit of drop off, I think a finals berth again or a trophy for them here would mean a lot going into the next season worth of play. It also helps squash the conversations that start with the pundits out there about does FaZe need to change things, and a good performance from ropz would be handy with that. NAVI, this is a way for them to also kind of give the middle finger to everybody if they could get this victory under their belt, considering the field that you just discussed there, Striker. It would be crazy.
I think for NAVI at this point, even getting a top 4 would be a good result, I think, for them at the moment, because it's still like having a top 4 and be competitive in that semifinal. I think that's already probably a win for them, considering the last couple of events. If it's not, if they don't end up meeting like the 2 bottom teams on the way or something like that, if it doesn't end up being like, they just beat Saw and Virtus.pro and that's it, that's not particularly impressive. But still, like I could see that being enough for at least them to understand, okay, we're not as bad as the last couple of events.
Yeah, okay. So you don't. Well,
I don't think that's realistic. Like it's realistic for them to just shoot for the win at this point. I think they're going to be fine with good semifinal or making the final. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a little exercise just for in terms of the favorites. So we all agree, FaZe, Spirit, Vitality. These are the 3 teams that one of them should win.
They're the front runners.
Right? Yeah. I want each of us to like take 10 seconds and just think, who do we think, what's the gut feeling saying who's going to win? And then I'll count down 3 to 1, and then we can say at the same time.
Wait. Our gut feeling on who we think is going to win.
Yes.
Yep.
The event.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Spirit. Okay. Why FaZe?
I don't know. You just asked me to go with my gut. I did. Yeah. I just went with my gut.
Don't explain it. Just vibe with it.
But now, if I think about it more, if I actually think the bracket through, then FaZe could play Spirit early in the bracket, right? Because
that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I think it's a bad thing. I think because I think if Vitality versus Spirit, if we're going head to head from last time, unless Spirit have fixed a lot to do with their Dust 2, let's say that series even goes to 3 maps, but let's say Vitality win again, they're going to get high seed in that group. I think FaZe have a chance to get the top seed in their group, which will put them on opposite sides of the bracket as Vitality, but they could lose to Astralis, so you never know. But let's say that those two teams top either of their groups. Okay, so then Spirit are probably going to come second in their group, which is going to put them on the same side of the bracket as FaZe. And I don't know who's going to come second in Group A. It doesn't really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, FaZe. In terms of if I was a betting man, maybe FaZe is a better shot just because they have the easier group on paper to win, at least. Obviously, because on the other side you have Vitality and Spirit, the other two favorites. So from that perspective, they have a bigger chance to just go straight into the semi, and from there, having probably a favorable matchup in the semi, and then only meeting the winner in the final. Like on the other side. So from that side, I would probably go into that. But that's just logical. But I do think that they have a very good chance of not winning the group, and I think there's too many downwards trends there. It's also Frozen, who hasn't been looking as good as at the beginning. ropz hasn't been looking as good. I mean, throughout the entire year, and their last 2 events have just gone pretty horribly at the end.
I'm putting a lot of stock in that 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, I do believe that they are going to be better than the last couple of events, but I'm not sure. It's like this intangible thing that you can't really quantify. I can't really put so much stock into that. I just know, I'm sure they will change something, and something significant enough. It's not just going to be some a couple of strats.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. You said go with the gut prop. I went with my gut. I don't know why. If I'm trying to find an answer, it'd be very difficult for FaZe to win considering the things that they're up against. And if they play Spirit at any point, I think that might be a mental hurdle, which we're yet to see them overcome in those type of games. So
how much stock are we putting into Astralis? I'm just curious about what people think. I've kind of made my opinion, but
I think they're like semifinals probably. Who's VP?
Navi into
they should
Navi
be in the playoffs
into FaZe, and then possibly meeting Virtus Pro in the. I
think they can make a top 4 again.
Yeah,
I think that would be reasonable expectation. Yeah.
I mean, they could also if it ends up that they're third in the group, and if they lose to Navi and then go up against FaZe, they could meet FaZe in the semis. They've already shown that that's a pretty favorable matchup. That's also a way for them to get a little bit further.
Yeah, I'm not going to grandstand for them or anything. I think that they're a team who's on the right path, and a win here would be very important for a team like this. But I think that they should be able to make another top 4 placing. I think it'll be a difficult top 4 placing. They're going to have to play some Counter-Strike to get there. But yeah,
I think they've shown. The thing is, especially from their last game against Vitality, which was also very close in the semifinal, it was Pro League, right? I think that from that, it kind of shows that they have the peak to beat any of these teams. They haven't met Spirit so far, I think, at least, or if they have, I don't remember them meeting anywhere. Let me see if they actually played against each other. I don't think so.
Astralis Spirit.
They played in the RMR, just the best of 1. That's all. They lost the 13-11 best of 1.
Different roster, though.
Yeah, different roster.
Yeah.
They haven't played in these rosters against each other, but they've beaten FaZe on a couple of occasions. They were in overtime on second map against Vitality that they nearly converted. So they definitely have the peak to beat anybody here, but they haven't shown it.
No, they haven't shown
enough.
their peak yet, I don't think.
No, I mean, in individual matches, we know that they can beat any of these teams. It's just they haven't shown it against across an entire tournament.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good event. I think it's a really good event to close out the season. I'm going to be excited is playoffs in the arena from the Friday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm going to be excited to see that. I'm flying into London on the Friday. Has there been any announcements and stuff about this?
I mean, we can do stuff now. We kind of mentioned some stuff. Essentially, the plan is we are doing a confirmed on Friday, but it's not going to be open to public. It's part of like a blast after party kind of thing. So it's going to be a similar vibe to, let's say, the pre-show for the award show that we did. Kind of people vibing in the background. We were doing our own thing, picking up some people, players sitting down with us, chatting. Have some people already lined up. We're not going to leak too much, but we're in the UK, so you can guess some of that. And if you have any ideas, maybe hit us up. So that's the idea for the Friday. So we're going to do that from 9 p.m. locals, which is 10, I think, over here in the Central European area. So maybe we do a bit of an overlap with the second best of 3. Maybe not. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's a quick one. And so yeah, you're coming over for that. We're going to be there. It's going to be a nice little show. And then on Monday, we're doing a separate thing, which you are not involved in, but we're doing a little stream, like HLTV Awards launch show, where we'll say a lot of things. We'll have a mid-season check-in with Striker, and Harry prepared a bunch of stats so we can go through all of the awards and see like who is performing the best, how things are shaping up for each category so far. We'll also be announcing the location and date for the award show and a very cool giveaway that we're doing together with 1xBet. So people should tune in definitely. Let's say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity that we'll be providing.
Okay, that's some exciting things to look out for.
It's not life-changing money. Let's just say that, as someone else has the slogan, but it's a experience.
All right, cool. So Friday, HLTV Confirmed live at 10 European time, and then on Monday, something about the award show. Not the award show, just HLTV Awards.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Not award show, just HLTV Awards. So yeah, okay. A bit of an action-packed weekend coming in. It will be the close of the season. So everybody, the Counter-Strike kicks off on, is it Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Counter-Strike kicks off on Wednesday. It's 2 days time. Today's Monday. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. 1 p.m.
We have a lot of interviews lined up for tomorrow. We might even do like a little live post from Media Day, just because we're going to have a lot of people coming in. We have a couple of people there. We have a lot of quotes. We have some content shooting. We might just do something a little small with it. So it's actually going to be a fun day tomorrow. Hopefully a lot of interviews will go up as soon as we get them, from something like, I think, noon to all the way to the evening. We're actually going to have a lot of content going out. So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Nice. All right. Well, we've gone a bit of a lengthier episode. That's going to be my bad. I think I took too long in the beginning. But hey, look, we're almost 3 hours deep in this one, 2 hours, 38 minutes. And I think we'll shut it down. Anybody have anything else they want to say to the people at home?
I want to say that the Mongols are apparently number 6 on the Valve ranking.
Damn.
Ooh.
That's
I'm
wild.
just looking through the rest. That's pretty much the biggest takeaway. And IP 14 after that.
Where are they on your ranking?
High, but 21 are NIP. Mongols are just barely 11.
Yeah,
but it's VP and complexity are like 5 points away or something. That's very close between 9 to 11. Mongols could actually be a top 10 team by the end of one shipping.
Yeah, nice. Well, good luck for Mongolz. That'd be sick. Yeah, NIP jumping back into the top 30. That's cool to see too. All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back, as we just said, on Friday, so you don't have to wait that long for an episode. I guess we'll do one to wrap up the season after, like the week after Blast, and then maybe these guys are going on holidays and have a couple weeks off or whatever, and we'll keep if anything crazy happens during the break and we're available, maybe we do some impromptu if there's like wild roster changes or anything happening.
I feel like we should do a show like after Blast.
Yep.
And then what if we do like a AMA show, like we ask people to ask a shit ton of questions and then we just like record it and put it on, you know, somewhere during the break to have some more content going out. What do you think about that? That was an idea I had.
Yeah, we could do that. I think it's just about getting some actual quality questions from people, because we should, because they just ask questions like, what do you think about this guy on this roster? And it's like,
maybe they can just ask about Mad Max Furiosa and you can go on for like half an hour. That would be.
I mean, it could be stuff about roster changes. What would be our like favorite roster move, like dream roster move of this break or whatever.
Yeah, all right. We'll see what we can get. Okay. Happy birthday to Random Dude Q. And Star Hunter recommending that Titty Mov should take meds. I agree. So shout out to the sponsors, 1xBet, of course. Remember to gamble responsibly. And trade.gg. Check them out if you're in the marketplace for some skins. We'll see everybody on Friday. Have a good evening. Have a good week. We'll see you later, alligators.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
The world is changing quickly. Shut up.
The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at HLTV.org/shop.